We're doing it. We're live. For people who showed up, thank you so much. This is our first inaugural Campfire chats. The whole idea behind this is just a no agenda, cozy chat to mutuals, friends, hopefully better friends at the end of it as we get to know each other. Because honestly, this digital life for the past 4 years, we've made a lot of friends across country, but haven't really spent time just getting to know one another. And I was like, I want to get to know these people that I call mutuals and friends and stuff like that. So who better to start with the most famous person I know?
Not
Not to the Academy, is Mo. Uh,
Hi.
well, yes. Hello, hello. The only stipulations to this is you must bring a hot drink and a blanket. So Mo, what's your hot drink in your blanket?
Okay, so I got a Mexican hot chocolate, but, like, I taste ran it earlier just to see what it
Mm.
was like, and it was very weak because it's, like, a store brand. So I threw in extra cinnamon and a splash of cayenne for a kick. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I love
okay, all right. And
and
what's your
then
blanket?
and then it's a tortilla blanket from HEB.
Oh, that's fantastic. That is huge.
It's a circle too, so it's, like, even better.
We were talking about this at work. So I work at a gaming shop now, and
Ah.
we do like breakfast burritos and quesadillas and
Mhm.
so. But it's white people's quesadillas. It's shredded cheese with some
Still delicious
chicken.
nonetheless.
Oh, they're great. And but we were talking about, so we introduced it a breakfast burrito, and it's like you can't fold them because we don't have like the steamer thing. You if you go to like
Oh
Tex-Mex
my
where they,
god, tortillas.
yeah, so it's just like a tortilla straight out of the bag. Well, no, for the break, once we put it all together, we put it on the grill to, yeah.
You gotta make it flexible. It's gonna bend if you don't at least throw it in the microwave for like 5 seconds or something.
Yes, well, we don't even have a microwave. So,
Oh, no.
one of the other people I work with who's more into cooking was like, "Yeah, I throw the tortilla on the grill,
Mhm.
both sides, real quick before putting it." Yeah, it's like, well, another thing I learned from Tex-Mex restaurants, the from my understanding, at least, they're saying the quesadillas you get out of the store are like 4 inches too short compared to restaurant quality. They're huge
Yeah.
to accommodate all, all this stuff. I was like, no wonder all my burritos fall apart. They're too small.
You gotta get bigger tortillas.
Yeah.
That's the rule. Actually,
Yeah.
there's a local tortilla place in town that I love going to. It's called Cabo Bob's, and they actually cook tortillas right in front of you. So like they have like
Oh.
so they actually take dough and flatten it out
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
actually toss it, like frisbee toss it onto this cooker, and then they flip it with their
Yeah.
hands as you do.
Oh,
That's how you do it. You flip with your
yeah,
hands.
yeah, yeah. Eh,
And then it's like your burritos are massive.
oh,
Like you get
sure.
a burrito and it's like this wide. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's
There's
just a small army.
that reminds me of this really funny TikTok I saw one time of uh this guy was like his abuela teaching him how to make tortillas, and he's like, like trying to flip it, and then it cuts to her perspective. She's like, just barehanded on the hot grill, just flipping it. And I was like, it's amazing.
Oh, look,
Oh,
joining us in chat.
yay.
Hey, I know people.
Oh, who's this?
That's
Who's come to
um,
join the, yeah,
it looks like Dragon X.
yeah.
Played Mass with, and I think I don't. It's like Skeleton. I think that's probably my DM
Oh, okay.
from D&D on Saturdays
Oh, cool,
at
cool,
the gym
cool.
I'm going to now. So like,
Oh,
there's that.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a really cool gym that I'm starting to like get into and like try to be more attentive in like local community and like it's a good way and like
yeah, yeah.
of course finding my nerds makes it even better. So
I love it. It's beautiful. That's what I've really enjoyed about. So, like, I'd lost my job last year, and it was an artistic job with a lot of nerds there. But I
mm,
got a job at Gigabytes, which is a gaming cafe,
yeah.
and it's been fun to be back in a very nerd community. And not only that, our particular shop is very inclusive, queer inclusive. and it's just been one of the most happy places to just
I
be
love
like,
that.
"Oh, yeah," you just feel very open. Like, when I
Mhm.
the reason why I was like, "I wanna get a job here," is on the little like, where they had the enamel pins, it's all, pronoun pins, and I was like, "Okay, perfect.
Good.
This is"
Perfect.
yeah, and, been really happy with that. Like, even the boss, the store manager was telling us the other day that he's been accused of collecting queer people. I was like, "What a great accusation." Like, okay.
Is he like the straight person in the group, or is he?
Well, I don't know if he is, some flavor,
Mhm.
um, and even, like, myself, you know, I'm in a committed relationship. There's a lot of, like, I'm learning a lot about myself,
Mhm.
you know, she still goes by she, her pronouns, and but man, when she puts on a suit, I'm like, "Hello. Hello, sir."
You're you're like, "I didn't know. This has unlocked something in me. Okay."
Ah, that is a nice tie you're wearing. So,
You look great.
yeah, yeah, you know, uh, we both have similar hairstyles. She has a lot more hair than I do, but we have very short
Oh
cut, cropped hair.
oh, did they also cut their hair short, or
She does, yeah, because
just
well, she likes. I'll put it this way: when I first met her or saw her,
mhm.
this will kind of give you a visual idea. She was in her work scrubs. We met LARPing, and she was helping plot basically DMs. If people don't know LARPing, they're people that
Which type of is it, like, Dystopia Rising or Vampire
oh,
LARP, or is it
this was Exadune.
Oh, I
So
think
it
I've
was
heard of it. And it's like the, was it like a sci-fi one?
it's a steampunk horror.
Okay,
It was a
okay.
and so she was on plot. I forget you know LARP. So she was on plot, and she had just found out that it was a 3 day camp LARP, and she had just found out the little like what was it called? Not barn, but it was like the cabin that she was going to be using for one of her plot lines was already being used by something else, and no one had passed it.
Oh,
So she was real angry.
yeah.
So I see this woman sitting there, 5 foot 5'1" woman, crossed arms, mad, and my first thought was like, "Ooh, that lesbian is angry." and of course, you talked to her later, and she was like, and I'm sitting over there like, man, who's that guy there standing in the shadows? It's probably one of our other mutual friends, haunting, because they all were haunters for it's called Netherworld here in Georgia, one of the largest haunted houses in the
Okay.
southeast. And she thought I worked there. That's like, but at
Mm,
any rate, that's how we
yeah.
first saw each other, and so that gives you an idea of what she may look like and who we are, and
I love
yeah,
that so much.
yeah.
I have another friends, actually older mates that now live in Maine that I met through this LARPing. So
Hmm.
like, and eventually got married and like
Oh,
all
that's
that. Which
beautiful.
I'm like, I love this nerd love.
Yeah.
It isn't my turn, but I was like, oh, one day.
Mm. Just gotta go to the just go to the right LARP.
I, bruh,
I
I've
know.
been LARPing on and off since 2005. So
Oh, yeah.
like,
I mean, yeah, 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 yeah. Well, you did
and
DR, and I did DR. I did it
did you do Georgia or
for
Florida?
so we went to Georgia when it first
Mhm.
started, the Georgia chapter. Um, it's had some shakeups. We were kind of, whatever about it. We went to one Florida event, which I heard Florida closed. They're
I
done.
think I got out of that in 2016, so I don't know.
Okay, so my former coworker, she got a job somewhere else. But at any rate, Roxy, she started in New York.
Mhm.
She came down here, has been doing Georgia, and she told me a couple nights ago that at MomoCon they're like, "Hey, come to DR. We have chapters everywhere. Georgia, Florida. Wait, not anymore." So yeah, whatever reason,
Yeah. Wow.
Florida, and it was
And for
fun.
and for people who don't know what DR is, it's
Oh,
Dystopia Rising. It's a 3-day, zombie apocalypse live action role play game where you go in the woods and you just act like you're survive in this post-apocalyptic world, surviving zombie attacks, dealing with, like, the hustle and bustle of the city. and whatever
It's
plot lines they come up.
yeah.
And it was really fun. Like, I enjoyed it. I just can't I'm too old for that shit now, and, like, I don't know, just how deeply entrenched people get, like, into, like
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
just
It's
I
tough.
feel like when I first got out and people were just constantly talking about I was like, "I need to seriously remove myself away from this because like,
There is one of
I
our
did not realize how bad it was."
one of my chief complaints, as much as I love LARPing, my chief complaint is once you stop or have to take an extended break, those LARP friends
Are gone.
are gone. Yeah. They're LARP, they are just really LARP friends.
Yeah, they're not yeah, I think, there's only a handful of people I can still consider, like, friends,
Yep, same.
and, that I kinda met through the LARP community. Like, I kinda well, my one of my really closest friends I met through LARP and D&D at the
Mm.
the gaming bar I go to, so, um
Yeah, it's sad because it's wild for people that haven't experienced that. I mean, especially when you're doing a 3-day, 2-night kind of thing, you can have some really intense moments with
oh,
people.
yeah. It
Uh,
feels real.
oh yeah, and to think that that didn't have any lasting building friendships beyond that point is kind of wild.
No, because the main like, function and connection is the game, and if that game is
Mm,
gone from that connection, there's, like,
yeah, yeah,
no point.
it's
Like,
tough.
I've had like, when I before I got rid of my Facebook, I had so many people that I friended from Dystopia Rising or any other LARPs that I was just, like, clinging to a connection with
Mm,
because, we did the same many things together, and there was times after LARPs, I would, like, go through and find everybody I didn't know, and, like, I friend them on Facebook.
yeah.
And, yeah.
Every new game we've tried, me and my partner, we'll get. She's still on Facebook, and I'm still there because unfortunately, it's still good for business. For whatever reason, that's where you if you've got a business, you still kind of
Yeah.
have to be there. But anyway, we'll get friend requests and be like, "Who are these people?" And just recently, she started going through her friends list, being like, What is happening?" She
How do I know this person?
yeah, it's been 20 years worth of LARPs. You're like, I don't remember who you are, why you friended me. So yeah, I'm a very strict like, did we have a real conversation?
Are
And
we
then
actually friends? Are we just connected because of a thing that we did once
once,
together?
yeah, and maybe
But
saw
it
each
wasn't
other
even
across the room.
like it wasn't even that. Like I would do like friend people or like I have friends like Facebook friends with people from people that were in the same like dystopia racing community,
Hmm.
but they're from like Washington or like Oregon, and I never met them before.
Yeah,
But we're still part of the same community, and I was like, why?
maybe one day you'll be friends.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
one day
we'll
will
see.
actually meet, but like,
Well, I knew a guy that his main game was the Georgia chapter.
uh huh.
When we went down to Florida for one weekend, he drove down for Friday night to sell a bunch of stuff in game and then take all the stuff he traded for or whatever, and that night drove up to Ohio for a game that was happening that same weekend. So
Oh
that
my
way he
god.
could take the stuff that he got from the Florida chapter up to Ohio. And I'm just like,
People who have the means and the funds to like go cross country constantly for the LARPs, more the power to you.
you know what yeah, and I had to think about it. It's like, look, that's a Warhammer player, right? Because if you look,
He's been playing Warhammer.
well, the costs, like what I'm thinking about, like the cost of the hobby,
Yeah,
both.
yeah. No, I was talking about. That's like, oh, he has money because Warhammer is expensive.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, that's how I try to think of things. People are like, wow, that's so much money. I'm like, yeah, but again, I work at a game shop, and I've seen
People throw
people
down big
drop.
bucks.
Yes, there's a guy that came into this shop, and he bought $1,000 worth of like a new army he was buying, and we were all just like,
Dang.
what does this guy do? And then found out the next day. Unfortunately, I didn't get to work that day because we get tips, and apparently he was accidentally hitting the 20% tip button and not plus $20. He came back the next day and dropped another 1,500. Our tips, the everybody's tips those days were just boo through the roof.
Oh,
But we come to
I
find
just
out,
moved to town.
yeah, we're like, where are you? But we found out later because he was really free with his history. Unfortunately, when that storm came through Georgia and North Carolina, took all those houses out. It took his
Mhm.
house out, and he got a
Right.
big settlement to
Oh.
rebuild his house. But he's a general contractor, so he was like, I don't care, baby. Like he basically just got a huge lump sum of money, and now he's just like, yay, just blowing through it. I'm just like,
Find my You know what? After a horrific thing like that, find your joy. You know, if you can.
they did
Oh
definitely,
my god.
but you know, it's it's interesting thing. Oh my gosh, I wanted to ask you. Sorry, this just jumped in my head.
Uh-huh.
Blade 68. I didn't get to watch it
Yes.
because I
Oh my
was
god, you should. It's on YouTube now for the Evil
I
Games, channel, so and I
from
shared it somewhere, so
yeah from just watching it. Is it basically Blades in the Dark, but like just from the artwork? This is all I'm getting just from what I see. Is it
okay,
Blades in
okay.
the Dark, but like 60s spy thriller kind of heists?
Uh, yes, and so it's, also High Explore Rooms. Hey, bud.
Hello, hello.
Um,
Hey.
so what Blade 68 is, it just instead of Victorian era, like, spooky,
Mhm.
Victorian-ish, you know, Peaky Blinder situations
Right.
of, like, gangs and whatnot, this can move to more, like, espionage and, like, or weird, grifty sex cults, from the '60s,
Sure.
or
Eyes
it
wide
could
shut stuff.
be
Yeah.
or militant, anti-war people
Oh,
doing
yeah.
espionage, sabotage, or you can be a bunch of students doing protesting because it's the whole like time of like that era. A bunch of
That's
student protesting.
so good.
Yeah, right. And then you now in also you can play holes, which back in Blades in the Dark, holes were just like weren't a playable character
Mhm.
playbook, but now you can. But holes are, like, basically just, like, life forms or, like, robotic life forms that don't have any memories, but you get the memories through play.
Oh gosh. John
Yeah.
Harper's kicking himself. John He's looking at that going, "No! What have I done?"
But it's just everything is just so, like, has that meat of the '60s that, like, I
Yeah.
love more modern games. I don't like, I'll play a fantasy game, no problem. I'll play, like, a cyberpunk game, no problem, but, like, if it's a modern game
Mhm.
and I consider the '60s still modern because it's like, we
Sure.
had,
It's
cars.
all coming back
So
around. I mean, if you think
yeah.
about it, if you look at the state of things, it's what's old is new again.
We're not talking about
No, but alright.
this is a cozy stream.
Sorry, sorry, sorry.
But no, it's just it has that like that I don't think I've ever played a game that's '60s setting. I played a game that's '70s setting, but not '60s where you
Yeah.
have like the A-line skirts and the
Yeah.
beehive hair and like the post-war veterans who are just dealing with everything in their life,
Yeah.
the pe the hippie protests,
It's
Woodstock,
all of that.
all yeah, and it's just and so, like,
Wow.
with that, the city of Dustfall, like, we're in original Blades, gets pushed into the '60s as well. So, you have, like, the night market, which is, like, a bunch of, like, I guess, boats and, like, market. It's now a thriving multicultural space
Yeah.
of, like, like, function and, like, neon signs and
So
all the
it's still Duskfall. It's not
yeah.
Earth. Okay, so it's not just like let's take the mechanics and drop it in Earth. It's let's take Duskfall and jump
Yeah.
forward. So it's still perpetually night, or has that
No,
been
they
fixed?
figured out a way to where, like, they have daylight now. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Um, Skovlin, which is I think one of the heritages that you can have, and it's like
Mhm.
another place, is called the USC now. So it's based off of like USSR situations.
Ooh. So Cold
The
War
Dagger,
kind of.
yeah,
Yeah.
the Dagger Isles actually in the '40s, so like 20 years prior to like setting down, actually went through their third war.
Okay.
And it's kinda, like, set up to be, like, almost like a Vietnam War situation
Mhm.
where, like, it's tropical, it's thick, a lot of people who go into there fight, there's the colonies are scattered throughout the whole, like, islands and whatnot, and
That's so cool.
yeah,
What a
so
great
has
idea.
it has these beautiful thoughts and, like, it touches all these things, and it's so cool.
That is
It makes me
My
really happy, and
goodness.
I really wanna play a sexy oh, hello, Jacopo.
Yay. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
But it has yeah, I really wanna, like, play or run, a Bla like, the Blade 68 scenario
Mm.
with the Grifter sex cult. I don't know why, it just draws to me so much, and I'm like,
I don't think
"Please."
I've ever Oof. The the blinds and veils and for that game, ooh, that's one you'd really want some good, safety tools for, but
Oh,
I
for
love it.
sure,
I love
it's a
it.
busy, good conversation, but, like, having the idea, that concept of, like, "Yes, we are joining together to make this cult,
Yeah.
following this god, and, it's peace, love, rock and roll, and this god."
But
Yeah, so
of course, they're always with cults is like, but is that the god's ultimate goal? Is that what
I'm
it wants?
sure, but, like, we don't know this. Also, is there actually the god there, or is this person just assuming that they have this power
That's fair.
and just very charismatic in that aspect?
Let's Did you watch The Office at all? Were you much of an Office
No.
we were one of those people that watched The Office constantly, and that reminds me of my favorite, line from Creed Bratton, the actual musician of the anyway,
Yeah.
uh, and his thing was like, "Oh, yeah, I've been a part of a couple of cults. You make more money as the leader, but you have a lot more fun as a follower." I was like, "That's that line. My name is Grifter Sex Cult, Playboy Millionaire."
Oh my god, I love that.
That is so good.
So
Yeah.
when you watch our settings, there's 3 players, it's myself, Sean Nittner, and Karen, 12s. And, Sean's playing this, like, he's playing the veteran playbook, who is,
Mm,
like, this guy who was in that war that I spoke of,
sure.
as in the Dagger Isle, so he's, like, very anti-war because of it, like, what he went through. He lost his legs in the war, so he's, like, now these, like, cybernetic, like, blade legs.
Mm,
Karen is playing, like, this, like, older, probably, like, mid to late 30s to early 40s, like, journalist
okay.
who is trying to, like, get in the nitty-gritty of things and, like, doing PI work and all that stuff.
Sure.
And then here I am playing the swinger. That's actually the playbook. It's called the swinger.
Okay, I was like, "Wow, we're sensing a theme here."
It's and the one of the moves I took was like, "Yeah, baby," because it's based off of Austin Powers. It's the Austin Powers playbook.
Oh my goodness. Oh, who followed us? Improv. Oh, Michael.
Hi, Michael.
Thank you so much.
Of
Talk about
course.
another person that I'm gonna drag on here at some point.
Yeah. Oh, it's so hot for this blanket.
I know I've got my blanket around my. Oh, by the way, I have my Nightmare Before Christmas
Yes. And
blanket.
what were you drinking? What are you drinking?
I'm basic, and I just got a coffee. It's
At this
my
hour?
I can sleep. I'll go back.
Okay.
But it's one of those things. Coffee can help me for like an hour or two. It
Mhm.
helps me during that time. Like, oh, I'm really tired. I need to just perk up real quick for a game, and then
Yeah.
I'll drop out.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Cool.
Headed to the karaoke soon, but well, welcome.
Oh, fun. But yeah, so I'm playing like this. Her dad was actually a general in that war,
Okay.
and so she's actually a child of a Croce and Dagger Isle heritage because he married a woman from the Dagger Isles and brought her back to Dustfall,
Okay.
and so she's like her early 20s, living life to the fullest, partying it up.
I love
Kinda
it.
goes to college, but not really. And
What
so their crew is actually militants. So they're trying to do sabotage, be against like the war
I
efforts
wanna
and like
oh.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sold. I may actually like this better than Blades in the Dark pace.
I think that's why I do like I love Blades, don't get me wrong,
Yeah,
but
oh
like
yeah.
having this like modern twist to it is just it's so fun.
You know. Mike actually asked the question, are you allowing nitty-gritty in your campaign? Pretty racy. I don't know if that's an actual thing or if
What?
that was a joke.
Allowing the nitty grit like people doing it? Like it's always like a fade to black if that's the case.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't
I don't
know.
know. Um yeah, I've been playing a lot more cuz my game takes place in modern times. It's
Mhm.
93, so it's been a lot of fun to play
Love that
upon,
90s game.
yeah, good, all the good '90s tropes,
Mhm.
and trying to lean into that. And yeah, like you're saying, it's fun to play with all of the things you have in modern times and how that affects these types of games.
Yeah.
When you can just pull out a cell phone, and it's not obviously for 68, but uh
If you're on a
for
smartphone, if you're
yeah,
far by the way, okay, so also too, sorry to get back to this.
okay,
Everybody has like a special thing, quote
yeah,
unquote. So like Karen is playing the Hound. That's the actual playbook she's playing. And she has a pet. And she actually has special abilities on that pet, or like that pet has like certain things.
yeah,
I get a car, a nice two-seater autopod.
beautiful.
And so you can either be like very fast, you can be impressive, or you can be like you can have really cool technology. So you can probably even have like a smartphone or like a radio like in your car from like this like the 60s era.
Sure, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
so cool. Oh, I love it. That makes me
Yeah.
want to think about other
There
games you
has
could potentially that. Yeah.
Yeah. But you can get the playtests like materials for
Okay.
free right now from internet
Oh,
because
all right.
they want you to like read through it and play it and hear feedback and talk
Yeah.
about it. So which I love it. I love their non-NDA where it's like, hey, we want you to talk about our game. We want you to play the game.
I mean,
We want you
that's
to
the Crypt is Open has been free for this past 5 years,
Yeah.
however, because the same idea is like, look, if I can't copyright mechanics anyways, there's no point in me holding on to them.
Yeah.
It's much better to just throw it out there, let it live and breathe. And the only thing that I can own is setting information and cool monsters and those kinds of things, the creative side of things.
Yeah.
So I like to see that yes, there are other companies that follow that same idea. That's like, look, we're all in this. I think so, at least. We're all in this together. It's a
Yeah.
big community, and might as well promote that.
Mhm.
And that's what I have loved watching you as a mutual for the past like 4 or 5 years, is seeing your progress within the space. So I'm gonna gush on you.
Oh god,
if you
okay.
if you say
Alright, okay,
no,
here.
if you say no, I'll stop. I can stop there. But
You can go ahead.
uh,
I'll allow it.
I'll, I'll allow. Um,
I'll allow it. Continue.
but just I mean the fact that you are co-writing Kids in Capes,
Oh, yeah.
like at this, yeah, like that's like to me, I'm
Oh,
like
yeah, I did
that's
that.
it. That's the oh yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah.
that's the dream. Just to
So, do you wanna hear my timeline of, like, how I've gotten to where I am now? Like
yes, because that's the only thing. Like I've been out here.
yeah.
Tell me, how
Okay,
can I also win?
They also so it was 2018. I was like pretty heavy into the LARP scene still, doing like academic LARPing and all that. So like I for like 2014 to like or yeah, 2013, 2014 to 2018, I was like really big into LARPing.
Mhm.
And like I was going to academic conferences and helping like run them and stuff. And there is an academic conference that I went to that was not doing the best for the people of color that were like there for attendees. And so I was trying to be supportive of them.
Mm.
And Banana Chan, I don't know if you know Banana Chan, the designer. She's done a lot of work
No.
like Junk Shop, Blood in the Banquet Hall, Forgery, which is a little game about being an artist who makes forgery art and like
Okay.
it's like paint by numbers like solo game. Does all this like really cool, weird, esoteric stuff. I love her work.
Okay. Me too.
She basically looked at me like during a like after a panel, she was like, "Hey, you play D&D, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I do." She's like, "Have you thought about like being in a podcast?" I was like, no, but I would be interested in it. It's like, okay, cool. I have a friend who's doing a podcast. Yeah, I'll connect y'all to. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Come to find out, the guy running the podcast is Doug Lewandowski, the co-designer of Kids and Capes or Kids and Bikes.
Oh, just somebody.
Oh, hello. Nice to meet you. And so that's actually was my first podcast. Was his it was a second edition, that converted fifth edition module called Mask of the Red Death. So basically, like Victorian era design D&D
Mhm.
setting that we moved to fifth edition rules, and I played a Mexican folk healer called Curandera,
Okay.
who was living in Boston, and, yeah, we dealt with, like, Jack the Ripper
Oh,
and,
cool.
a bunch of other stuff that was happening, and then, as podcasts do, especially during the pandemic, fell apart.
Yeah.
Because that was in 2018, and then, like, come, like, the pandemic in 2020, just,
Which, yeah, that's sad because for a podcast, though, it feels like that should be
so it
okay.
more cohesive, yeah.
Yeah, but it's tough.
It just we almost
It
hit a slump.
that's really interesting. I'm sad because I don't know if they're still doing stuff because it looks a little defunct. Um, my really good friend Lawrence Moore,
Mhm.
um, he's now doing stuff with like Dark Drakkenheim. I think it's like one of those big premiere LARPs that he helps.
Okay,
They do
okay.
like a yearly thing. Um, he started his own LARP that unfortunately the pandemic took out, but he
Yeah.
started a nonprofit called Link, LINC, called LARPing in Color.
I
Um,
think I've heard of it.
yeah,
I
and
know who I know who you're
uh,
talking about now that you're talking about
Christopher Tang. I went and looked it up because I just want to be sure I got it early. Christopher Tang, Tanner Rives, Dr. Rachel Cofield, Matrice Allen, and Lawrence Moore, and their whole mission was to bring more color to LARPs and to
Mhm.
make them more inclusive. And really, one of the biggest things they offered was like, hey, we'll do sensitivity readings on your world setting.
Yeah.
And I, as a TTRPG developer, was still telling other developers of TTRPGs, you still need to use this resource. Like I know that it says LARP, but they had a whole resource, a catalog of people to contact. That just let them read through your stuff. Some
Mhm.
they had either you could pay or they had some resources that will help LARPs cover the costs because most LARP are just a
For
couple
profit.
yokel. Well, not even for profit. I have a really interesting concept these days. I think LARPs should be run more like co-ops than a
Yeah.
for-profit.
Okay.
I think
Oh, I like that.
they should be community driven because it is they already are. If you
Yeah.
at most well not DR is definitely a
Profit.
profit LARP.
For profit con, chapters to pay fees, etcetera.
Exactly. But
It's a franchise.
exactly. But your most of your LARPs like say me and my partner have talked about starting one.
Mhm.
It's just me and her that are making
Yeah.
props on our off time, doing all these things, and it does require the players to a certain degree to produce free labor. And there has been a lot of tension with that a lot of times where LARP runners are like, "Hey, we need your help," and then the players are like, "Well, we're just giving you all this free labor," and everybody's kind of mad at each other. I'm like, "But shouldn't that be like if we all agree to come to this place
Yeah.
and make it a co-op and we all agree that that's the social contract that we're signing here that yeah part of my free labor as a player is to make sure that everybody is enjoying themselves that am increasing the value of the game not monetarily necessarily but just emotionally or whatever and give that back to the game um but costs are tough. I have a really good friend who runs a game and he was like, "Yeah, we're still at that $50 mark, but honestly, LARP should be about 100 to $120 a month to cover a sleepaway 3-day event."
Yeah.
He's like, "To cover
Yeah.
cabin costs and food and blah blah blah." Like that was actually what was wild to me that Dystopia Rising does not provide any food.
Yeah, no. So, when I did Dystopia Rising, I eventually got into the groove of, like, because I was playing, like, a cook character,
Yeah.
I would actually grab, like, a handful of people where they pay me 20 bucks or so, and I feed them for the weekend.
There you go.
And so eventually me and my friend, Lee, we both started feeding people, and at one point, we were both, like, feeding, like, 80 people at this 300-person commit the LARP.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Actually, this is one of the biggest, so, like, or was the one of the biggest at the time.
Yeah, I can imagine. Because that's what most of the LARPs I had gotten used to at that point is at least one person would volunteer to run the kitchen for the weekend, and they would buy food and run a tab, and that comes with its own challenges.
Yeah.
But Any rate,
Like,
that
I remember specifically, like, I was at the like, I was going to the LARP and cooking that weekend, and then my stepbrother fell ill and then passed away, so I couldn't make
mm,
it then. This was, like, 2014 or so,
mm,
yeah, it was and so I was like, "Lee, please," and so they picked up, and,
that's
Lee
good.
stepped up and did the things, but, like, they fed by themselves, like, 80 or so people.
I can't.
I
I
think
just
I
can't.
help, in the kitchen, but, like, still, like, being the main cook for that
Oh
for
yeah.
that.
Well, that's what Exadune for all of its faults, and that's a whole heap of problems.
Yeah.
Every Saturday night, the the owner cooks a giant meal. He I don't know if he was a cook at one point, a line chef or something like that.
Mhm.
And it was an in-game, like nothing happens for these 2 hours, in-game
Yeah.
meal for everybody to sit in character and have this big feast.
That's nice.
Generally, whatever was on the menu was there was some monster that may have gotten killed, and that's what got cooked for that evening.
Like, "Oh,
Uh,
it's lizard stew again, great."
oh god, thanks for killing that thing. And then this was hilarious. For years, nobody knew this, but my partner and her friends were part of the Butchers and Bakers Guild, um, which were cannibals who would
Oh.
provide their own special meat to dinners that night. So they would have, so they'd be like, "Yeah, yeah, we got this, and we've got the special. Who wants the special?" They,
What's the
uh,
special?
so for years they're like, "Oh yeah, we've been feeding human remains to the entire campsite."
They're fine.
Yeah, everybody's
Everybody's
fine.
fine.
Everybody's
They're
fine.
fine.
And what's
Oh.
hilarious is the guy who was the head of the Butchers and Bakers Guild dressed like. Do you remember the Gangs of New York? Daniel Day Lewis's character with the big top hat and the big mustache.
No.
Okay, it's
No.
oh that's fine. Uh, it's one of those things like you should have known. If you looked at the guy and be like, oh
Oh, I see it now.
yeah, like we should have known that guy was up to no good.
Yeah. He's just looking like a villain.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just coming back to cannibalism, that's all.
Yeah,
Like,
don't worry. It's all
don't
good.
worry about it.
And what's
Cannibalism in a LARP, but not in real life.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Oh, did somebody say thing? What have I stumbled into? Well, what's hilarious is my fiance is a vegetarian and has
Mm.
played several different cannibals at different LARPs. Uh, DR, they were natural ones, and I think they,
Yeah, yeah, the those Scarians or something like that.
yeah. So, um, and there's a game called Badlands that was a
I've heard of that
cowboy
one
LARP.
too.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Um, she found this amazing fake turkey that looked like strips of flesh. And
Oh.
so she would, after she would down a monster or down somebody, she would surreptitiously pull out that jerky and just start going to people like, "Oh no, what are you doing?"
I
they
love that. I love
oh
it.
they did a plot line where somebody ripped out an NPC ripped out somebody's heart, and they made a gelatin blood filled heart, like
Yes.
proper size, and it was her friend that pulled it out and just started just the whole thing pouring down.
Ooh.
When you can get players to just squeamish and run away, yeah,
Yeah.
because it was a horror LARP. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
our plot line, the year we started, we didn't get to complete it for various reasons, but we were doing we were called the Queen's Men or something, like the Queen's something, and we were actors. And so after dinner, we put on a play, and we've been doing it for about 4 months. So they kind of got to know us doing the plays. And we had our big play, put up a backdrop. Well, one of our friends brought in an NPC people hadn't seen for years. And the crowd went crazy. Yeah, it's our favorite NPC. I'm like, yeah, he's come back. He's gonna help us. And I'm doing this like whole speech, and he has to say his lines, blah blah blah. And I finally go in his big long speech and pull out a real knife that he had given me, and I flick it out. He had put a blood packet in his shirt. I reach.
You to have a knife.
Well,
Oh
well,
my
he grabbed my hand. He's the one that holds the hand because he's gonna.
Okay.
He's a movie guy. He's a movie guy.
Okay, good,
So
good.
he's like, "You grab my hand." He does the thing, and you just hear this pop and as the blood hits the ground. One of our really good friends in the back who really couldn't see just stood up and goes, "Wait, did that really just happen?" He was like, "I don't know if Jeff just lost his mind and gutted Dustin or if this is part of the game." And we had to be like, yeah, we were like, "In play, in play." Take it in play. So what the players didn't realize is I was casting a spell during that whole like all of my words had the name of this entity that I was calling. And
And
that
you
guy
just
was the sacrifice, and we sacrificed him at the very
yeah.
end.
Love that.
Oh, it was the greatest kickoff to a game,
I
ever.
think I think the only squeamish gross thing I've done a LARP, which is not it's I mean, okay, it's kind of bad, but it's not really that bad. So there's a LARP in 2016. Yeah, 2016. It was like one of those brand new like blockbuster LARPs called it was a Harry Potter style LARP
Okay.
in Virginia called New World Magischola,
Okay.
where you go off for a weekend to go be students or teachers at like a magical school.
Okay.
And we played it at the University of Richmond in Virginia.
Oh,
So we drove
cool.
from Texas to Virginia in like a day or a
Oh.
day and a half. It was
Whew.
a lot. We kind of left like we kind of went straight there that one time, and then like coming back, we actually took a night in like Arkansas or somewhere
Oh,
to like
sure.
sleep. And then,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
But I was playing a professor. I was playing Professor Castilla, and I was the cryptozoology professor. So it was actually kind of funny because I was playing a character who was from Texas or the area, like the magical world of Texas.
Yeah.
I hunted jackalopes for my thing, and so for my older students on the last day of classes, I actually was able to get props from like the previous like because there's like 4 runs and I was in the
Okay.
second run. So the guy who did the first run actually had props already left there, and he left them there for me for the next run. These like gutted jackalope like little plushies that like were empty, but inside were full of like little candies. So like it made it look like it was organs. I was like, okay, time to dissect jackalope, and I like let them like lay them out, and pick out stuff. I was like, oh yeah, it's still fresh, and I took a piece of candy and threw it in my mouth. And then like professor was like, it's fine, everything's good.
No.
So while they're trying to like figure out what organs are what for this jackalope, and it's like little like red jelly beans or like red like little stringy
Yeah.
candies. So they're just like laying these out on the desk.
That's so good. That's a great moment in a game
It
where
was
you can
so good. I loved it. I was
toy
very happy that
toyetics. Anytime in a LARP that you can have something
interact.
physical. Oh yeah, for play like
Mhm.
for that Exodus games, one of our friends, the LARP he runs now, it's called Brink.
Mhm.
It takes place in a kind of fey realm, and the only stipulation is your character got brought in from the 80s. That could be the 1980s, the 1880s, the 1780s. So you have all these people from just all these history, just
Okay.
somewhere in has to end in an 80. But
Uh-huh.
the style of the game is all neon lights and like 80s like techno wave. So
Yeah, I was
during field battles, he has techno synthwave music playing, and it's diegetic because of the world that everything is like this music. He's like, no, this music, you hear this music. It's
Mhm.
part of the world. So he's really good at that kind of stuff, like really hands-on things. And he had a thing was like there was pipes with steam that we had to control the pressure, and he built this whole system with PVC pipes that we had to like turn the pipe, turn a knob, and look at him like, did we did we do it? Is that the right? He's like, no.
Is this the right thing?
Yeah. The worst thing he did though is he what is it like 10-gallon Tupperware totes,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
huge totes, and he filled them up with water
Mhm.
and put rocks in them.
Oh, so they
And
were heavy.
oh, really heavy. The rocks probably would have been enough. You got to imagine like a giant tote full of water is already like well
Already
over
heavy
100
that.
pounds. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
And he's like, these are hello yappers, blurty.
yeah.
um,
Yeah, that's where my brain went too. I was like, yeah, post like Roman era, yeah,
oh,
totally.
that'd be fantastic. Um, and it was supposed to be like we crash landed. We had to pick up these are the engines, and we have to drag them across the desert to another plane that we can affix them to.
Yeah.
And while that's happening, sniper fire is from the tree line is shooting us. And it was really cool. He had this whole thing where he'd shout out a number, and if it was our number, we got shot in the head. And we had to drop. But we were like, hey, a bunch of us have like +2 strength, +3 strength from this other thing that happened. We should just be able to pick this thing up and run with it. And he was like, I'll take the rocks out. And we're like, no, drop the water. Like
Like,
the rocks are nothing at this point. It's the water. He felt to his credit, he felt so bad afterwards. We're like, because he tried it himself after. He's like, oh yeah, maybe this was a bit too much. Like, yeah,
yeah.
come on, John.
That reminds me, my friend had a LARP at his house. Well, he just like he opened it, like he built a new house, like kind of like a tree house situation in the backyard. It was kind of like a mother-in-law suite
Okay,
situation. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so in order to like christen it, and I think it was also for his birthday, he ran like a Cthulhu s LARP in
Ooh,
there. And so I was kind of like helping as like an NPC plant character. And but what he did is like took like black lights and like put around like black like symbols like around his house. And he does the one thing where he filmed me like through his window and like had like a static link on it, so it looked like
yeah.
I was like pushing through like the static of fog whenever you like played it on the
Oh,
TV. Yeah,
that's really good.
yeah. And but he also made for a Kickstarter at one point LARP books, Cthulhu as LARP
Oh,
books. So this is actually like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
hardwood, nice paper, leather. And so the only reason why I have this one is because I was actually helping build them. And this one got made upside down and wrong. So I was like, he's like, "You sure you want?" I was like, "Yeah, it's chaotic. I want it."
I was
Oh,
about to say, a Cthulhu book upside down and backwards. That seems like normal, right? Shouldn't they all be upside down and back?
so it starts off kind of like this, where it's like all like nice, like little like
Yeah,
calligraphy writings and all that stuff, and then it just
S-
devolves.
spirals into madness.
Yeah, into like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where's the chaos? Like that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah, so I usually like whenever I'm like making like I'm like dressed up as like my cult character, like as like I carry this as my book.
That's
As a
so
prop.
good. Ah, I love it. That's what
Yeah.
the two of my friends that I met at Exadune and
Mhm.
knew, they're, like I was saying, they're movie prop people, and they were what was on the story team. So they just did really crazy, wild stuff, like literally setting people on fire, and because they would get their stunt friends to come out,
Oh yeah, yeah.
set you on
We actually had
fire.
something like that. Well, not fire, but we actually had something like that at DR once, where we had some haunters, like from the local haunt scene, that used blood cannons in their haunts. So like pressurized
Yeah,
like little cannons that like have like blood like in them.
yeah,
And so, it bursts out and you just get splattered.
that's
And so
so
they'll do
good.
that to folks whenever like if they're in the maze or whatnot. So you wear white and you're just like covered by the time
Oh
you get
yeah,
out there. And so they actually brought the cannons to the LARP and like had a couple scenarios where people go out and like,
just get.
be co-
That's so
absolutely
good.
blasted.
They so we had it's I think they finally tore it down. It was called Safety Wolf here in Georgia, and it was a uh like a hotel motel abandoned.
Holiday Inn.
Yeah, hotel motel holiday. Um so it was stripped down to just the cement. So
Mhm.
everything was open on where the rooms would have normally been. Well, DR rented it out one weekend for an event where
Mhm.
uh, the hotel portion of it, where all the rooms used to be, was like these tunnels you were going through. And so there's all the modules were on that side. And then where the lobby was, that's kind of where you hung out in between modules. When we first got there, they're like, hey, you need to fill out this document. And it had a picture of a human body on it. It said, tell us where you can be touched and cannot be touched. Tell us your
Yeah.
no-go zones, all those things. Cool. Well, when we went into the tunnels, they're like, hey, each one of you are given this syringe. If your friend of yours goes down, you hit them with this syringe. It will
Mhm.
paralyze them, making them invulnerable. And we'll have our like extraction team come in grab you and pull you out.
Okay, I think I heard about this. So yeah, but continue. I love
Okay.
hearing like the actual story
Uh
from the inside.
yeah, so I was playing what were the people that were that had the mutations?
Um, Rap, no. Oh, I think it starts with an R. I think.
Oh, Reborn, Revenant, something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any rate, well, my mutation was I had
Mhm.
a purple
Remnants.
remnants. So I had a purple tentacle coming out of my doctor's scrubs in my doctor's
Mhm.
jacket, and I was playing a doctor, Doctor Delirious. And whenever I met people, I would shake them with my left hand, so forcing them to have to shake where my tentacle was. That would kind of tickle their hand because I wanted to see who was cool with remnants.
Yeah.
And his catchphrase was, "I want to make you better." So, and so we go through the whole thing. Me and my fiance, we survived. She's playing her natural one, who's like, whole thing
Mhm.
is, I'm here. You saved me, so my thing is, I'm going to protect you.
Yeah.
We get out through the event, and I'm like, wow, that was great. And we're standing next to one of the plot members who's playing some NPC, and I was like, so that's it, that's it. And I had this syringe. They're like, yeah, and I'm like, neat. Pow! And I just popped myself with it, and the, the NPCs, the GM's like, did you just did that? Like, uh-huh. And he's like, all right, these people come and grab you. And they take me upstairs to the second
Oh.
floor.
Oh.
My fiance, in character, out of character, is freaking out. Like, what did you just do? They so they pull what happens is when the extraction team comes gets you, they pull you into a surgical suite, and they had a real stretcher, like medical stretcher out there with the
Mhm.
spotlights and everything. And it was a vampire performing surgeries on people as they were coming in. And they're like, oh gosh, what's her name? She's been running a lot and writing a lot of stuff now recently. LARPs.
Yeah.
Anyway, she tells you, by the way, yes, you're paralyzed, but you still experience everything I'm about to do to you. And so she's talking like all of her jargon, and I feel like wetness across my forehead as she's like, I'm slicing into your brain, blah, 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 looking at all these kinds of things. And all she's doing is putting a tattoo, like one of those stick on tattoos of a scar, like soup
I love that.
teachers.
Yeah.
But of course, it's that whole sensory thing. And it was amazing. It's like,
Mhm.
all right, you start to come through now. You're coming. Well, my character the whole time is loving it. What are you doing? Like I'm sitting in my head. I'm like, what are you doing? Can I learn more? Can you tell me what's happening? Can you
Can
describe to
I
me?
assist you?
Can I assist? Right. So you're like, oh, she's like, you come too, and I roll off, and I do. I pop up and like, and I launch into all of that. This was amazing. This is the best experience of my life. Thank you so much. And I talked to her later. She was like, you freaked me out. Like, I was like, what is happening? You're the only person who was so into what I was doing.
I love that. I'm glad you got to experience that because
Oh,
if
yeah.
you didn't get, if you didn't do that, you'd never known.
Well, and that's my philosophy with LARPs is no is not an answer.
Yeah, you gotta drive your character like a stolen car.
Oh, yeah. And that's where it's just like, you say yes. And so that's what I was doing. I was like, you gave me a syringe. Something happens. And the only way for me to find out is if
Is to
this.
use
And
it.
so I have the perfect character motivation to do it. Boom.
Yeah.
And
You're a doctor, you gotta know what things do. You gotta see what
yeah,
happens.
if the character
Oh, that's
dies,
great.
make a new one.
Yeah,
Yes, you do need to start LARPing.
it
I
is pretty fun. But for me, I prefer more black box and
mm,
theater LARPing
yeah,
versus like outdoor 3-day weekend LARPing. Because I think it's because it's like you're confined to the space. You
yeah,
don't need that many props. You don't need to have a full weekend. It's just like maybe 4 hours.
yeah.
And it's like more philosophical, I think, with that.
Well,
So that's what I love about that's what I just love about LARPing. You can go out and beat each other with foam swords,
uh,
or you can be sitting in a room and pretend you're existential rocks.
well, I mean, it's the difference between D&D and
I knew you were gonna say that.
well, it is like it's the difference between D&D and then playing was it Bluebeard's Bride in a sense, right? Which is just this very intense,
It's so
right?
pretty
Yeah.
though.
And it's like
So pretty.
Passion de la what's it? Passion.
Passion de la
Yeah.
Pasiones.
Which we have 2 copies at Gigabytes Games if you'd like to come. And we also have 2 copies of Perils and Princesses. Get them now before they're gone.
Oh yeah, do it.
Any rate, it is so you can have that range of experience. And I'll say this:
Mhm.
even my friend's LARP that was a buffer LARP, when he was first getting it going, we just did 1 days, and
Yeah.
honestly, I felt his 1 days were a stronger experience,
Than
even as
full
a
weekends.
buffer LARP. Yeah, because we had to get stuff done and things had to move, and we had between 9 a.m. to about
Mhm.
10 p.m. And yeah, it's just so much stuff happened. Granted, there was only
Yeah.
like 10 of us. So, really cool stuff happened, and I really enjoyed his game a lot. I'm really sad. It was a Greco-Roman LARP
Okay, I
fantasy.
like that. Yeah.
So it was using the entire Greek and Roman kind of pantheon and
Mhm.
Spartans and all that kind of stuff, but with a twist that it was basically they got that whole area got kind of uprooted and taken to an alternate dimension to kind of keep going. And I was playing I forget what they were called, but I was basically playing a black goat, a goat man, because I wanted to be
Later.
uh not a satyr because I had a goat head. I was a goat headed
Oh.
humanoid.
Oh, you were like opposite Seder.
Yeah, I was literally I was a black goat because I wanted to be Baphomet. Quite literally, Baphomet. They made me change my name. They're like, "You can't be Baphomet." Okay.
You're like Black Phillip then.
Yeah, I'm black, Philip. But I was a ritual caster who dealt with alchemy, whose fingers were always blackened from all of the crazy poisons I was working with,
Mhm.
and my partner was playing a tiger, I believe. So we were a goat and a tiger couple, in-game couple, and
No, as you do.
like you do.
As you
Um,
do.
but casting, like his whole ritual system was an actual mini game. That was a whole hell of a lot of fun. It wasn't just like, okay,
Mhm.
sit down. I don't know if you've played games with rituals where you just like pull stones out of a bag to see if
Yeah.
this was like you had to spin a wheel and like where it landed would increase your essence or decrease it, and you had to end however many turns around the wheel at this much essence. Like you had a small window, like
Interesting.
so you're playing a minute, and you're like, oh, okay, I've got 5 more rounds, this many spins, this many moves, and it was so much fun to. Again, it's what we were talking about, like toyetics and diegetics and like things to play with,
Yeah.
toys and
Yeah.
ooh.
No, I
Oh
get
yeah,
you. Like, I played this LARP. It was a sci-fi LARP. I don't talk or want to talk to the owner anymore, but like the game itself was pretty fun,
know
overall.
that feeling.
But the guy actually designed an app for it 'cause it's sci-fi, and so you used your cell phone to like scan QR codes to do like things. And
Oh,
depending on your whole character sheet was on your phone app too.
oh, that's
So
great.
like you were able to like scan things, and if you had like knowledge in like botany or whatever, you can actually like scan and be like, oh yeah, you actually get more of this like history stuff or this botany stuff versus someone who doesn't have botany, and they're like, oh, it's a pink flower.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that solves so many
it
problems too, where it's like, what do I know
and
about
it had
this?
a timer,
Oh, yeah,
and it had a timer for like you to do things, and then like if you got hit, you hit a button, and then like it had a countdown time for you bleeding out, and like with flash and like let people know, or
that's really good.
and then like if you got like a scar, it like would like randomize like what kind of scar you
Oh,
get.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
It held your inventory. It was really cool. It was a really cool concept. It was really fun, and then, things happen.
then then LARP runners happen.
Yeah. Broken stairs and the community and all that stuff.
That is my
And that's why I don't really LARP anymore, is because there's so many broken stairs in the community that I'm like, I don't wanna go into a LARP
we
now
have
and run into them.
we had a I have a person that I know. I'm gonna try to not use too many specifics.
Yeah.
Is going to a LARP to the
Mhm.
point like they are mid-20s,
Okay.
attractive white woman, and
Mhm.
polyamorous, going into LARP, and it's just like you, for lack of better words, are chum in the water because this is your first LARP and you don't know any better.
And
Especially
because
to the game that they were going to. I'm just like,
and you just wanna protect those little sweet little babies. That's what I did for all
yeah,
of them.
yeah,
Like, I was like, men are dogs, and there's like, and because of the broken stairs within the community, is that people are like, oh yeah, they exist here. We know they have problems, but like, we'll overlook it because like they're our friend.
And
Or
we
like
need their character. Like, that's
yeah.
the worst, is like, we just need their character.
Yeah, it's like, okay, cool. The safety of your community is,
Yeah.
on shaky grounds because literally you have a broken stair in your house.
Mhm.
So
I mean,
in
that's
our we're gonna shoot and like
yeah.
break their neck or something.
I mean, that's why Solar finally imploded on itself, because the owner
Mhm.
was a, crystal was a meth addict
Oh,
that
wow.
everybody was propping up for years.
Oh my
For
god.
years, they propped him up,
Jeez.
and anyway,
Yeah.
I won't go in yeah.
I just feel bad for like the newer folks. So like if you get into LARPing, just be aware there's gonna be some creepy ass folks that are gonna be
Well,
there.
you get love bombed at a lot
Oh
of
yeah, the
LARPs. You
drama.
just, "Oh, you're so awesome. Here's this free
It's
thing
so
and
nice
this free thing.
yeah.
Yeah, come
It's so
back."
nice meeting you. Come back next time. I'd love to keep in touch with you. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
"I've never felt this way before." Well, yeah.
Oh god, that just brings me back to my first how I got into LARPing when I was a teenager and like how I started dating my storyteller.
There it is.
And it
Ah.
was not great because I was 16 and he was 21.
Oh, so you were a classic LARP LARP
Yeah,
story.
yeah. So how
Oh,
it originally started
no.
was, my best friend at the time, I was, like, the punk girl, she was the goth girl. She was dating some guy who was, like, older than her as well, and, he was going to these LARPs that his friend was running, like, little, like, troop LARPs that were, like,
Mhm.
maybe, like, 10 people, and he wanted to bring her along, but she didn't wanna go by herself, so she dragged me along. And being a good friend, I went along, and I liked it. I liked the idea of getting character and,
Yeah.
doing this all this stuff. And I literally LARPed, like, in November 2005, and then played D&D December 2005. So, like, I actually started LARPing before I started playing D&D.
Well, that's the thing, and, me and my partner have talked about this. It's like
Yeah.
LARP, if it weren't for the men involved, I think
Would be so
LARPs
good.
and would be, I think, skew more, femme presenting
Mhm.
and femme identifying than it would male, because there is so much more of the, character
Yeah.
and characterization and the acting and the, dress up is the only word I can think of right now, but that makes it sound too infantile. But I don't know, the pageantry of it all. I'm a theater kid, so to me, that's why I was
Yeah.
drawn to it. It's like there's just this,
I was never in theater. Like, I was
yeah. It's like, wow, this just hits every button for me as a theater kid, and then I'm
yeah.
also a D&D player, so I'm like, yeah, and then I get to hit things with a with a stick. Um, yeah, given the right environments, I think you start to see them want, oh, I feel accepted here, this feels safe here, I can be a part of this, but then, oh yeah, men happen.
And yeah. There was a that remind I'll get back to, my story in a second, but there
Oh, I'm
was a
sorry, I
LARP
interrupted you.
in no, in Europe that was, like, pretty much it was I don't know, it was, like, 2014, 13, somewhere around there that I heard about this, that, it was all women. It was an all-women LARP, and basically they were playing, like, this post-apocalyptic village where, like, only women stayed in the village, and then they finally had a man, like, didn't come into the village or whatever, and then, like, they had to figure out what to do with him.
Ooh.
Okay.
Was it actually, sorry, I have to
I
ask
don't
this
know.
question, was it an actual man, like, literally?
I I think it was an actual only male player, like
I would not, I'm like, "No, I can't, I don't think I can do it." Uh,
yeah.
anyway, your
But
story.
it sounded really cool. But, yeah, going back to my LARP history is that, it was a Vampire the Masquerade LARP, and, like, it was, like, literally 10 people, and, it was I had fun. I learned how to LARP there, but also had my work experiences there
Hmm.
within the LARP community. Do you know much about Vampire at all, or
I mean, I was I played first edition.
Okay.
So I have the original, well, I don't know where it is anymore, but the original green jade book with the rose on the front.
Yeah, oh, yeah, oh my god, I think is there a new edition of that now?
Did they bring that image
I don't
back? I don't
know.
know.
I don't know, that's the only one I know. But,
Mm.
are you familiar, like, with the clans and all that? Um,
Yes, more or
so there
less.
was a clan that was, like, I think celebrated or, like, was, like, trying to bring back demons or whatever, Forgot what they're called off the top of my head. But there was a clan, like,
Mm, that sounds like a, Sabat kinda thing, because I don't think that doesn't
yeah,
sound like a Camarilla. Or is it
um,
Camarilla? I can never remember what they did.
either tomato, tomato.
Okay. I just see double L and I
Yeah,
make assumptions. Um, which that reminds me, Bruja or Bruja?
Bruja.
Okay, because that's what but I keep hearing people say Bruja, and I'm like, "But"
The Bali, that's what it was.
oh,
That's the clan name.
that sounds like a later
Yeah.
thing then.
So, it was so anyways, like, we were playing a regular thing, I was playing a Toreador because, like, I didn't know any better. Which I still like Toreadors, don't get me wrong, but, like, I was
Look,
just,
every time I do it, which vampire are you? I come out Toreador, and I'm like, "God," I mean, it's
yeah,
not wrong, but I don't wanna.
no, oh, I hate it. No, like, I don't
Yeah.
mind Toreadors, like, again, it's my first favorite, but, like, and, like, she was getting, like, flirted with by this gargoyle character, like, NPC. So, like, the
Mm,
Beauty and the Beast situation. Oh, that was my first character. My second character, which we came around, was a gangrel, who was just, like, kinda scrappy and kinda young. I kinda had her teamed up with, like, a new friend that I was making at the LARP. But the thing is, like, I was maybe, like, occasionally there'd be another woman there, but I was usually the only one there.
mm,
And, CWA for in-game essay because in order for this Bali guy, which it was his first and only game that I ever met him. I never met him after that.
mm,
He was friends with the owner or the storyteller. They let him come in and run to play his Bali character, and he wanted to bring a demon in the world, so he needed to have.
of course.
And so, of course, safety tools were not a thing that existed in the the late 2000, the mid 2000s. So,
Mm-mm,
yeah, couldn't fight it, couldn't do anything about it. Just had to happen. And they're like, "Sorry, you're the only
mm.
woman here." I was like, "Cool, I hate it."
That's awesome. There
But
there
also, I was
was
like 17 and like,
yeah, oh, this I guess is just how it is.
yeah. And so I guess I just stuck with it. And like, if I knew better, like I knew now, but like,
Yeah.
I was a kid.
There
I was
was
dating an older
yeah.
guy. Yeah, I was groomed out the wazoo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What did I miss? Games in a bunker, thanks for showing up. What did I miss? Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Which
I, I
yeah, go ahead.
I do like I think I played at Vampire LARP, I think last time in 2018, and I enjoyed it then. Like, I
Mm,
was playing in, it was called Mind's Eye Society, which is like either an international or national, like, gaming troupe where, you do it, and, like, it was pretty
okay.
cool because, like, in college, I joined One More by Night, which is another gaming organization that was, like, worldwide, and that
Uh,
was
the
how I got my LARPing fix in college.
I've always been tempted to do, like, because I know Gen Con runs a vampire, at least they did several times. I
Mhm.
don't know if they do anymore, but a vampire LARP runs all Gen Con long.
Oh,
So
yeah.
during the day, you just do your normal thing,
Whatever.
but when
And
the
then, yeah.
sun's down, it's vampire time, and I've always been
It's
like,
fun because it's probably massive.
"Oh, absolutely!" If it takes place across the whole thing, um, and it would be like, "Look, it almost be like a premiere LARP at that point, right? I can have
Mhm.
fun just doing stuff throughout the day with no worries, and then, oh, cool, I get to go play my vampire." But I just don't know what I would play. That's the only problem is, like, I don't ever feel the only vampires I ever feel drawn to are the Tremere because I love magic,
Yeah.
but they're, like, the worst, and it's
They're
like
snooty little assholes.
yeah, and it's like, I don't know if I could do that all
They're like,
weekend
"Ah,
long.
yes, I know the" push up my glasses. "I know the secrets."
And I just can't do that, and I have found that I have the most fun playing a character that is a heightened personality just of myself. It's the easiest. So my favorite character is his name was Hendrik. And he was
Mhm.
he was a cowboy, but he was an airship pilot who
Interesting.
was just so I got to dress up like a cowboy, but I had like airship goggles. I had like the flippy sides. It was really fun and a cool Nerf gun. And but it was just like, hey, put on a thicker Southern drawl and just be kind of charismatic and fun. And I worshipped a goddess of luck, which was a lot of fun just to be like, when bad things happen, it's like, all right. I mean, that's luck. Like, what are you gonna do about it?
Unfortunately, that day,
Yeah, you
yeah.
get bad or good. And if I try to play something too far outside of who I am, it gets really hard all weekend long. It gets
Oh,
really
yeah.
hard for me to like, oh, I gotta stay in this. Like, oh god. So that's like
So
vampires. That's why I think Toreador is why I would just end
it's
up doing
nice. You
that.
just lean into, yeah.
Yes.
So for weekend long LARPs, well, the only one I really have is Dystopia Rising or that one shot of, New World Chola. But for Dystopia Rising, I played a iron cook.
Yeah.
So it was fun to be like glowing at night. So I loved it. Because like we
So
actually did like an iron revolution where we got together, so it was like 20 of us, like all glowing in the woods.
oh, that's so good.
It was
That's
very
so
fun.
good.
But I enjoyed her, and then I eventually just like started to push her off to like go get married and have a kid, and like
Yeah.
just live a life
Go
away from
go
the
be yeah.
world. And then I played because I have friends that are in the Florida like
Mhm.
chapter, and that were running the Florida chapter, and I was like, I want a connection to y'all, so I made a rover, which is like the
Mhm.
traveling ones with all the scarves, that was from Florida, and her name was Vivi, and she was from Kappa Alpha Kappa, which is like the Spring Breakers, which is like a little like college frat sort of group.
Right.
And she was an entertainer and
That's
like,
so good.
she was just like very like outgoing and telling stories and like would just hang out at the bar or
Oh,
like
it's so good.
she was also a TV. So like basically in DR they have religions and like one of them was like you can worship like old TV shows and whatnot. And so hers was drag queens. She got pulled into the drag queen cult.
That's
So the
so
RuPaul cult.
good. Yeah. I was straight headed toward the Darwin. Like, I
Oh.
had to be, yeah. That's so
I
good.
got with my cook, I got pulled into the nuclear family. Like somehow that happened. So
Okay.
yeah.
My we ended up playing Yorkers eventually, me and my partner,
Oh
because
yeah.
we just were like the our 2 characters, because her character, she started years and years and years ago
Mhm.
with an entire friend group that were all natural ones. So, she was like, "I feel kinda out of place, I lost kind of the connection to that group."
Yeah.
My doctor character was so just out there and charismatic, and hers is so reserved that we just didn't really have time to play together. So we're like,
Yeah.
we saw some of our friends playing Yorkers. We're like, that looks like a blast. Just be
Like, let's do
loud.
that.
Yeah, let's just be loud and obnoxious. And so that's what we did. And man, we saw one time this all of town had this great idea to get a cart full of uh they're not called zombies in the game, aren't they? Or they're called something else, I think. Or
Um,
they just call them zombies? I don't know.
Walker. No, wait. I know what they're called, but I just don't remember what they're
Yeah.
called.
At any rate, a cart full of zombies. And but they first need to collect all the zombies to get them into the
Mhm.
cart. And we're watching them all go do that. And I was like, this looks like a horrible idea. And I look at her, my partner's like, hey, you want to go on a date and watch these fools get killed? She's like, yes. So we just were like a good 100 feet back, just go watch,
It's
just,
so fun.
just watching everybody get annihilated, just
I
sitting in
played
the woods.
Walker like once or twice, and like it was fun because we're bringing in like a little gang. Um, so like it was like Yorkers, but we're from like we're from Austin, so like we had like Ladybird theme, like
mm,
like and just like local theme sort of things. And I had a hockey stick that like I actually got a prop like made for my
yeah.
hockey stick. So I had a hockey stick like buffer weapon, like
That's so
and I
good.
made my own shield, like actually made my first like foam weapon shield because of it. Like it was very fun to
Uh,
design and
that's
and
so
try.
good.
'Cause
Oh, yeah.
I love crafting.
And that's what I love about DR. That's what a lot of people are like, "What should my first LARP be?" I tell people, like, really, DR should be your first one because costuming listen, just go to Goodwill,
Or
pick
support a smaller but
yes,
Google was probably cheaper, but yeah, if it's as
whatever
long as
your
it's something
budget
that's not
is. Yeah,
yeah.
thrift store, thrift some clothes that are
I
close to
suppose you
whatever
don't
you're
want blood
doing.
either
Yeah,
if they fit the same.
rip it up, throw some fake blood on it, and
Dirt.
go out there, have a good time.
Yeah.
And because I tell people, and it's funny, my friend Roxy, when I said this, and I was like, please because she loves DR. It's her thing. And I was like, I hope you're not offended when I say this. I was like, but DR is the McDonald's of LARPs. And she goes, oh, it absolutely is. And I was like, okay, at least we're all aware that like
Yeah.
it's the most, and it's like I say that in a way lovingly because it's the most accessible, the
Mhm.
cheapest as far as costuming is concerned to get into, and it's everywhere.
Yeah.
There's always going to be one closest by.
Mhm.
I was like, and if you like DR well enough, I think you will be able to branch out to something more niche beyond that point. But
Yeah.
definitely, yeah. I was gonna say, so we're at an hour 20. Generally, I was like, oh, we'll probably like 30 minutes to an hour,
Yeah,
and these,
just do something small.
yeah, and here we go.
There we
Um,
go. Just
but
kinda
it's
fill
really,
time.
it's up to you if you want to keep going, if you
I
feel
I'm
good.
s I feel good.
Okay,
I
I'm
can go for
happy.
maybe, like, another bit,
Okay.
so
Um, what was it? So actually, I want to. Yeah, good conversations do that. We just, especially because
yeah,
it's to meet another LARPer. We have
yeah.
stories for days and days and
Oh
days
my
and
god,
days.
so many days.
But as far
Have
as
you
like
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
TikTok and like, because that's the thing, like we're mutuals. The
Yeah,
thing is, I don't remember at what point we became mutuals. We've just kind of run around in the same circles.
I think that's what happened. Was it Beggargate Discord or the
It
Beggargate
may have been,
Discord?
yeah, maybe in Beggar Gate because I dropped out of
Yeah.
Beggar Gate due to
Oh.
honestly, well, it made me a worse person.
Oh, yeah, it was
I
there were some folks not great in there.
yeah, and it just I realized like, wow, it's doing things, it's making me
'Cause there was a lot of
yeah,
angry folks in there that were, like, very just negative the whole time.
yeah. And it kind of brought that out. And it was with a convers I think Gingerbeard, I think is their
Trying to remember
handle.
who,
Uh they I know they work at a hotel, but they have a big red beard.
Cobble? No.
I don't know.
Cobble Center? No.
Um anyway, they made a TikTok. I was like, "Hey, Beggar Talk, I've got a problem with you." And I took it like almost personally when they weren't really. It was one of those things like, "Hey, if they're not talking about you, don't get offended," kind of situations. And
Yeah.
I did, and then it blew up into this bigger thing, and I had to take a step back. I'm like, "Wait a minute. What is this doing to me? Am I in the right place? Let's listen to the criticism." And I realized it's like, yeah, I need to. This is a community. I think that's not doing right, and so
Yeah.
that's why I love. I'm gonna shout out to the Titterpig Academy.
Therapeutic Academy!
Titterpig,
Yay!
thank you,
We love
Penny. Yes,
Thank you, Victor, for putting the idea in our heads,
yeah,
and Penny for executing, yeah.
it's just been
'Cause
wonderful.
I do love it, 'cause I that's kinda like why I went to TikTok is because I wanted to talk about games. I wanted to,
Hmm.
like, play more games to, people and, like, you know, all these smaller games, especially by marginalized folks, especially people of color, that's like because I did that originally in Utopia, where it was games at a glance, where I would basically just sit with you and just, like, I would go through a game that
Hmm.
was written by a person of color that in or, talk about games that are designed and, like, break them down just so people could get more interested in
Sure.
games written by marginalized folks, and especially, 'cause, no one else is giving us reviews, might as well do it for ourselves, and so I had the platform to do it, so
Yeah.
and I am thinking of bringing it to Titterpig, so I have to figure out, like, when times are, and, like, I need to start getting a list of games I'm gonna talk about, and, all that good stuff, so
Yeah.
'cause I wanna get back to talking more about games, because I like talking about games, I like reading their games, I like talking out loud about, like, how the games work or designed, and,
Hmm.
kinda like
Oh,
getting in scenario of just, like, learning how they play.
and that's what I do at work because our register is right next to the RPG section. And this
Mhm.
is a shout out to Irene Space Job. I don't.
Irene! Oh, I love Irene so
So
much.
Irene worked there before I did, and
Uh-huh.
Irene really built up their RPG section.
Mhm.
And then she got a job with Steve Jackson Games,
Yeah.
rightfully so. Get out of here. So when I got a job there, I was like, I want to continue what Irene was doing. Well, the RPG section's right next to the register, so I just like am watching people whenever they go in that corner. I'm like, "What you looking for? You looking for anything in specific?" "Can I help you?" And I'm just like, look at all these other things that aren't Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm just like
Yeah.
ripping people's attention
Like,
over to
"Oh, you like that art? You want me to tell you more about it? Here, come
yeah,
closer,
here, check
come
this.
Like, it was
There's
that reminds me of an interaction I had at, the local game shop here. It's called Dragon's Lair, it's, like, one of the biggest, oldest ones in Texas,
okay.
and, I picked up the Skeletons by Jason Morningstar out there because they used to have a bigger indie section, but now it's just, like, it's gotten from, like, being, like, a oh, I don't know how to explain, I'm trying to think it's, like, a 6 foot tall, like stand like a book stand
Yeah. Just like
you
a
know what I'm talking about?
rack.
Where it's like a rack, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, like, made of wood, but not metal, but, like,
Yeah.
so they used to have, like, a full side of one, and it was just nothing but indie games, and then D&D was on the other side. And now it's kinda like maybe, like, half that, a third of that, and so it makes me a little sad, but, that's where I usually poke. I'll see the D&D stuff, I'm like, "Okay, sure, whatever," and I'll just walk around, and like, "Oh, yes. Aha, indies." I'm like, "Oh, man." But I picked up Skeletons because I wanted to pick up the Skeletons for the longest, by Jason Morningstar because it's cool because 'cause you're playing as skeletons, the perspective of people going through the dungeon, and, yeah, it's so
Oh,
different later
yes, yes,
about
yes,
it.
yes.
It's so cool. But, I picked it up and I was talking to some friends, we actually just finished watching the D&D movie at
Okay.
the movie theater, maybe, like, next door, and so we walked over to look at games and stuff, and I was, like, chatting with them, I was looking at games, and I picked it up to buy. This associate at the store is, like, side-eyeing me and the game in my hand because I don't think they knew they sold it here. And so I get to the register and I actually get him as my and he's like, "Hey, come here." He pops on register. He's like, "Okay, we do sell it." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, you do. I just picked it up at there." He's like, "Was there another?" I was like, "I think that was the only one that y'all had." And so we just had this really cool conversation about indie games. It was really fun.
That's oh, I love it when I am seeing a lot more people looking and reaching out for and digging into that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And it's been very heartening. And I do try to be like, "What are you into?"
Yeah.
And like, well, have you heard about this? That's kind of because I've been pushing Fabula Ultima a lot because that's another one
That's
that
a lot of people would like that because it's like an isekai, I think, or
yeah,
something,
well,
or
it's just Final Fantasy
yeah.
14 and Bravely Default and all those kinds of games. But I would say if anything, if you have a chance just to read it, it is one of the most hopeful RPGs I've
Oh,
ever
that's
read because
cool.
they captured that kind of like it reiterates you're a team pushing
Mhm.
back against the darkness. You are a team of
Yeah.
light and hope, and everything you do, yeah, there will be tension between the party members, but that's because it's tension for you to overcome and be stronger as a team together. And it's just like, I love
I love
it.
that. That's really cute. Yeah, I don't think the genre is, like, for me because I don't really care for, like,
Mm,
JRPGs or, like, isekais or anything, but I know people who do, like Blurdy and, like, a
yeah.
bunch of other folks. So, like, I'm happy that it exists, and I love, like, the idea, the mechanics of the team and all that. That sounds amazing. That sounds so fun.
What it?
But,
Oh, good.
I was gonna say, but I have another story that's, like,
Oh,
the flip from that, from another store.
oh no.
So I was at this other store just looking at games and stuff because it was actually a store my friend runs, and uh, I never said the W word, so you can't blame me for it. um,
Called yourself out.
you tell yourself that. Um, what was I saying? Oh, so I was there just looking at games. It's actually a store my friend owns, and so like I was hoping to catch him, but he wasn't there, so I was just looking around, and I was looking at games, and this associate just comes over, and I bet he's a really nice guy. He's just trying to like get to know people, but like I also felt like it was coming from a place of like, oh, this is a femme person who doesn't know games. Let me show you the way. Blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And I was like,
Wanna go
oh
on a
yeah.
date?
Yeah. So like he's just like going off about like he's like, oh yeah, wait, you're interested? I was like, oh, I like I love board games and RPGs. He's like, oh wait, have you played like Ticket to Ride? I was like, no, but I love more like, which I haven't played Ticket to Ride, by the way.
Okay.
I own it? I think I own it. Yeah, I own it. I have not
It
played.
is fantastic. I will say that. It's fantastic. But good.
To be fair, my friend gave it to me, and so, like, it was, like, one of her games, so I just
Oh,
have it. But I was like, "No, I love more, like, esoteric or, uh like oh god, was surreal games like
Mhm.
Mysterium or Dixit because it's like more of the artsy sort of stuff.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
And he's
yeah, yeah.
like, and he's like, oh yeah, and I was like, we're talking about RPGs, like, oh, since you like the weird stuff, you probably like, Fiasco. I was like, oh, by Jason Morningstar, yeah, I love his work, like, yeah, I've worked with him for oh, and I ran a LARP with him once at a conference in 2016.
Oh,
I kinda just laid that on him, he's like, "Oh." I feel kinda
it's
bad, but also at the same time, I just felt like I was like, I need to draw a line that I'm not like this, like, nerd,
oh,
like, this,
sure.
"Oh, look at me, a little fim, he doesn't know anything about RPGs."
It's
Like, I'm in the game.
I know what I'm talking about. That's
I
it
know what I'm talking about.
it's that, one of my favorite parts from, Parks and Rec is when one of the characters is walking through Home Depot, and the guy comes up to him, he's like, "Hey, sir, can I help you?" He's like, "I know more than you." Just like, that was that your moment. I know more than you.
It was so funny and so bad because I did feel like I felt a little bad, but also I felt kinda like, "Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
you
you should.
get it,
You
nerd."
absolutely should. And this is what is impressive to me about, like, you and,
Oh,
Andrew and all these people, like, you all I just don't have a mind for knowing all the names of, like, all the creators. It's I put it like this, I know a band's songs. I don't know any of the
okay.
band members' names. I don't know who plays wh
That's good to
Yeah, that's
know.
all and so that's how I just am with media. So
That's
even my
nice.
RPGs, I'm just like people are like, "Oh, made by this person, this person, this person." I'm like, "Sure." And
Yeah,
I'll feel bad if I meet them and I don't know what game they made, and it's not out of, malice or hubris or whatever, it's just like, I just
I have a story for you about that.
Oh, yes,
Where
please.
Okay, so I was at a LARP conference in 2016, and there is a LARP called Sign. I don't know if you heard. Like they sell
Mm-mm.
books of it through Indie Press. I don't know if y'all had it or not. But the LARP itself is you. It's a nonverbal LARP where you play as Nicaraguan children who are from various villages,
Wow.
and you come together and you who are all deaf, and you'll come together and you form a language by trying to do sign language, and it evolves by y'all like trying to
Sure.
sign to each other and eventually learn like what's going on with each other. It's gotten, like, really high esteem, given back, etcetera, and I played it maybe before this conference, and I fell in love with it, and so I think the designers are running it or someone else was running it at the conference, and so we were eating lunch, and so what at the conference itself, you eat lunch together in, like, these ballrooms, and so what I do is I sit with everybody, so I meet everybody. So I bounce around, not sit with anybody that I know, etcetera, but when my friend sat down with me and, like, this other person that I don't know sat n on the other side, and I said hi to everybody. My friend and I were talking to each other, and she was like, "Oh, what games you're playing?" I was like, "I don't know. Which one game are you playing?" She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna play Sign." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds really cool. That's a great game. I just played it recently, so, I wanted to save that space open for someone else, so I don't wanna take it." And then the guy next to me is like, "Oh, by the way, I designed that game."
Ah, like, oh.
I was like, "Oh, hi. Nice to meet you, Hakan."
That was fantastic.
I love your game. Which he also designed I don't know if camera
Yeah,
people can see this, but,
no, not
the Xeno language game.
Ooh.
It's a
I've
math
been
like
looking at it back there and be like, "What
oh,
is that?"
so now I'll talk about it. And so it's not clear. So it's a language design game, so it's the same people that do Dialect.
Okay.
I don't know if you've played Dialect.
Ooh.
It's basically the, evolution of language in, like, in various scenarios, and basically the one game that we played where we're robots on Mars, just, like, developing language,
Okay.
and that goes on. So Xeno Language is, a game about first contact with about alien life, messy human relationships, and what happens when they mix together. So basically,
Interesting.
you have just play centers on the platform. It's basically a channeling board with a planchette-like lens that, like, you do, and you'll discover the meaning of the alien symbols on the board, grapple with what they learn, and experience how it changes them. So,
That's really cool.
yeah, and this box, by the way, the reason why it's sitting over there is because it doesn't fucking fit.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was a poster this whole time.
No, it's a fucking box. It's so big.
I so a part of, seeing the size of that box, in addition to working at the gaming store, 2 days out of the week, I work at the distribution center. That's
Oh,
the
neat.
so I have learned quite a bit
Mhm.
about the backside, the distribution side of Kickstarters,
That's pretty cool, though.
uh, it is very eye-opening.
Yeah.
So if people are starting their Kickstarter and you want some advice on what to expect from distribution, hit me up and I will warn you about things you should and should not do, or just what to expect. Um, so like I'll real quick. There's one game that they kickstarted their new thing, but also allowed player or backers to buy every old game in their catalog.
Mhm.
So of the like 200 to 300 orders, no order or just like a few batches of orders were the same. So what that means is, okay, we got 10 that have this game, this game, this game, this game, and this game, and we all have to
Yeah,
run
like, lay 'em
around.
out and, like, find them. I
Yeah.
actually the LARP book that I showed you, I actually helped with fulfillment for that as
Okay.
well. We didn't do, like, distribution through a company, but, like, he basically that whole, like, house that he just built, every inch of that floor was covered with books.
Oh, so you're like, yeah. So you're running around trying to find. So imagine like I gotta
Yeah.
go grab, and it's like you don't realize that this is not an automated process. That there are people in
It
a
isn't.
warehouse hand
Yeah.
picking, stuffing, and it just takes
So long.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the more product you have, you start thinking about how many days and weeks you need to tell your customers, your
Yeah.
backers, hey, it got to the warehouse. Expect this many weeks before we get shipping at all.
Mhm.
Um, so it's been great. That's why partially why I got the job, because I was like, well, I'm getting into this industry. I want to get as
Yeah.
close to what's happening as possible. I mean, look at like we were
Mhm.
talking about with Irene. She got to meet Steve Jackson, and this is where
I
she's at.
know, I'm so proud of
Uh,
her. I love
uh,
her so much.
my coworker Roxy, she's now working for Weird, that makes a miniatures
Yeah.
game Malifaux. So she's working
Uh-huh.
for Weird. So it's like you're doing all that kind of stuff. So it's like, all right, well, this is the place to be. I'm going to talk to these people and to the industry and get some insight and knowing all what's happening. Um,
Yeah, I've had friends who are like, "Hey, how did you get in the industry?" I'm like, "Oh god, I am."
Wall top, we or
Hi,
wall
French. Wall top, I
wall
believe.
top. Okay, I was making sure. I have my eyesight's bad. Wall top. Thank you very much for joining or following us.
Yeah, so like people were like, "Yeah, can I ask you about like advice about like come to you eventually about advice about running like designing games and like all of that?" Like, I was like, "You can." I don't
Yeah.
my answers are probably not gonna be what you're looking for because mine was very circumstantial. Like literally, because like if I did not talk to Banana at the conference, I would not have done that podcast. I would not met Doug. I would not started writing.
Hmm.
For my first thing I written for was Stranger Things Volume 2 for Kids on Bikes, first edition.
Right.
That's the first thing I've written, and that was in 2019.
Oh, I don't think you understand how much I've been trying to claw you into writing. Because and I'll not spoiler. I'm rearranging some things of how I want to do stuff. I have a really good friend. She's Latina, so I
Hmm.
got her input on a lot of things. On of like what I wanted was like the uh, central U.S. It's not U.S. Central America,
Yeah.
um, to kind of form its own country in my world after things have broken
Yeah.
up with Panama being the capital.
Mhm.
So she helped me name that area and give me a good Spanish translation for it. But I'm actually thinking about now adding in a third new country, which is something like the reunified Mexican states, which
Okay.
is the top half of like Mexico City up into Texas, New Mexico, Southern
That's reclaimed
California.
space. That's
Oh
healthy.
yeah, absolutely. Just
Yeah.
all of that gets reclaimed.
Mhm.
Um and so that's part of it. I was like, I must pull Mo in to write. I I know right now I was hoping to get the budget to have some writers. I probably won't for the first release
fun.
depending on how they but that is something I'm putting you live in the
You're making
yeah, making it
having living document with this tweet and then eventually to YouTube.
yeah, there you
I'm
go.
like, I will have you.
um, but I would because I was trying to get Central American writers. I will say, and I think I've asked you for help in how to get in contact with a lot of those people through Tumblr.
Yeah.
It is a desert between Mexico and South America. I got a lot of South American writers,
Mhm.
Brazilian primarily,
Yeah,
um,
there's a lot of Brazilian designers.
and people from Mexico. I couldn't get anybody from Guatemala, Venezuela. Like they
Yeah.
just were not there, and it. I feel bad because it's like I don't want to be. It's one of those situations
You're too
where
Brazil, I'm sorry, you're too south. I want central.
it was one of those like I'll get to South America. I had to cut it off at some point, you know. So it's like, well, I've
Yeah.
got Canada, America, Central America, which Central America really is, if you look at it, a very forgotten part
Area,
of
yeah, yeah.
the world. You have a lot of South American because Brazil being the size it is and influential,
Mhm.
but those other countries really get lost. I was like, oh, this is an opportunity to really put a spotlight here.
Mhm.
And man, th- there are a lot of mixed heritage here in the U.S.,
Yeah.
but natives were speakers and man, really
You're
tough.
oh,
It's
yeah.
and it feels bad as a designer because it's like I'm trying, I'm doing my due diligence,
At least
and
you're not writing for them and, like, being like, "Oh, they read my stuff and checked it out." Or did you?
no,
Yeah.
I would never. Like I said, I consulted with my friend to be like, look, here's the idea I have for the name for this new country. Centralis Unitas. I'm gonna butcher it. I shouldn't say it. Like, but it's like this central. Oh no, central something. And
Yeah.
I'm terrible. I feel bad. I don't even know my own. I don't even know my own
It's
lore.
okay. You've written a lot of things for it. But it's kinda nice that, like, this year I don't have any projects lined up right now, so
Mm,
I'm like, maybe I'll actually start my own writing. So I actually set a time aside time this month to start,
good.
like, research and development because the idea that I have has evolved, and I'm like, "Man," because I really wanna stick to PBTA because that's my bread and butter. That's what I wanna give homage to
Mm,
what I do. But, like, it's just I don't think it'll be right for what I'm trying to write, so
mm,
I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna do some research and development this month and watch my inspirations
sure.
and take notes and look
Can
at
you
various games.
can you tell us
Yeah.
anything
So
about it?
it's so basically ever since I've seen Sense8, the Netflix show about
Yeah.
the 8 people connected throughout the world and they can share
Mm,
share their bodies consensually, helping each other out with their own personal skills. I love that. I don't know this what it I don't know, it's, kinda like how I have with, online connections. You can't, physically be there and, take over, but having these people that are, connected to you, I don't know, it
yeah.
just really hit something with inside of me, and then also the queerness aspect and, the free, like, relationships and all that,
Yeah.
it's just something that's just so beautiful that having these 8 random people who never met each other, eventually come together with
Yeah.
each other, fall in love with one another.
Seems like the
Not even
moves
romantically.
yeah,
Yeah, it just
seems like the moves really work well for something like that, right?
yeah, but the
Of
thing
of the
is, though,
system.
I don't wanna, have folks stuck to a playbook because you
Mm,
can't people themselves are not playbooks.
yeah.
So it's just, one of those things "Oh, man, how do I" so I'm gonna poke around, I'm gonna play with
I
it,
hear you. I
I'm
you
gonna make
know,
games, yeah.
I've
This is
got
why I play games, y'all, so you can figure out, what works best for you.
oh,
And
absolutely.
design intention matters. Rules matter.
Yes, they do. Yeah, people that say rules don't matter, I'm like, okay. I don't know how to argue with that. Because
It's like
I've got, oh, we have another follower. Hey, Blurty. Blurty had to wait to see if it was worth
see if this conversation was worth it before
Mm, I shall I shall bless you with my follow. I had to wait. I had to wait. um, I've had a game, The Color of Everything, that I've been sitting on for now 3 years to because I haven't found, like you're saying, it's like, it's this nebulous general idea, and it's like, yeah, what? Because I want to do something with color, and I have an idea of using the color wheel
Uh,
for emotions.
oh. Oh, okay. Yes. Continue. I have
Okay,
something to add to that
alright.
afterwards.
So, your stats would be kinda based on a stat of 0 is pure it's just like the base color of
Yeah.
the standard color wheel. The more saturated you get is how you get, like, a +1 or +2 on rolls. Your damage takes away those pluses and desaturates that color, and when it's
Mhm.
gray, if you become gray in all of your, emotions, that's how your character dies. They are emotionally stripped away and lost all emotion. And but it's like everything else around that, I have nothing. I don't have a game loop. I don't have,
You're just
what
this
you're
really neat mechanic that
yeah, and it's like,
okay.
where do I put this? How
Where
do
do
I
I want to use this, but where does it go?
yeah.
It's like that puzzle piece that you like you just find underneath your couch. Like, where do you go? Who do you belong to?
I will find a way. All right, you hit an
Oh yes.
idea sparked.
So we're talking about color. You're talking about colors, and we're talking about LARPing earlier. And that reminded me of like one of the first games I ever written was like we did like a house LARP jam where
Okay.
we just like sat around for a couple hours and like we had like uh a couple ideas of like what we wanted to do for this LARP jam. So I think it was like color and light and intention. And so what I wrote with a friend was colormatch.com. And basically
Is it still
colormatch.com is
there?
here to help. I have it. I found the Google Drive document
Oh, I was about to type it in color
from
match.
2016. So I will share it in Titterpig. So
Unfortunately, Color Match is an industry-leading distributor of refinished coatings to the auto body repair industry.
this is what the game's called. It's just called Color Match.
I know. I'm
Yeah.
being
So
a
basically,
jerk.
you're all a color. So you have your purple, green, or yellow. So
Okay.
no like, so gender is whatever. You're just a color. Um, your attraction, are you heterochromatic? Are you homochromatic? Are you
Ooh.
bichromatic? Are you achromatic? Are you
Ooh.
casual chromatic? Are you polychromatic? And then fetishes. Everyone's into something, right? Like, so are you solids? Are you pattern curious? Are you plaid? Are you into paisleys? Are you into polka dots?
That's so good.
So you would actually it basically be like a speed dating thing where you actually become like a color and you choose like your things and then you go and sit in front of people for like 2 minutes per pair and you go and
You are
talk
gonna
about your color.
you're gonna unlock something in some people that they were not prepared. Like, oh, what does this say about me?
Yeah, and so then you have like free talking afterwards. It's a micro LARP, so basically it's like
Yeah,
meant to be played like under an hour.
that's so good.
Yeah, I was sharing Titterpig, so
Yeah,
just
yeah,
because
yeah.
I was like, oh man, I forgot. Yeah, so if I was to choose what
I'm a
I am
Games in a
I
bunker. I'm a polka dot switch.
yeah, I would say I'm a sunshine as I'm a yellow, so I'm a sunshine, panchromatic, uh, but oh god, I don't have any like if, r- r- I guess panchromatic is like I said, romantic, not sexual.
Yeah.
So like you're attracted doesn't mean you have to be sexual. And then definitely a plaid, a good plaid.
I'm a beige.
No, it's purple, yellow, or green. You got to pick one of
Oh
those.
no. I'm a very light green into the yellow.
Yeah,
Plaid is
but
sturdy and reliable. That's so good.
exactly.
I love it.
So it was just a really fun, like little goofy LARP that I designed. That was my
Oh,
first one I
that's
wrote, and then I actually wrote a Sense8 LARP.
well. There you go.
Where and it was so fun because I actually had 8 players at this LARP, and like there was this one point where so basically like it's still in playtest, like it was in playtest mode, and like it was
Mhm.
like bare bones, and so I'll probably poke from that as well and just like try to steal what I can. But there was one point where they're listening to the sound of darkness. It's a sound of
Mhm.
no. What is it called? What is the song called?
Yeah.
Hello, darkness.
Yeah. Hello,
Sound of
darkness,
silence. There we
my
go.
friend. Yeah.
Sound of silence. And so we just played Sound of Silence, and they sat in a circle with their backs to each other, and they all were just in this moment listening to the song, like, sharing the space. It was so fun and cool, and I loved it, and it was really
That
great.
sounds beautiful.
It was really cool. It made me happy, and it had good bones. It just needed meat,
Yeah,
and then I never got around to it.
that's how it always goes.
Yeah.
That reminds me of we played 10 Candles. Like
Oh,
talking about being
oh,
and
so good.
we we did it a little bit different, I think, than the book tells you to do it, which is like after each person passes, like they read their note or their note is read out loud, and then they
Mhm.
snuff out their candle. Or you wait till the end, isn't it? I think you wait till the end. That's right. I think you wait till the end and then do everybody's. We our GM took us all to a side room and he did a voice memo on his phone,
Yes.
and then he played it after each person passed away rather than all at the end. So you played our memo right at that moment from the phone, and then we snuffed out or did the thing.
Oh, have you
And
played Alice is Missing?
no, and I haven't, and I want to play. I know it's one of those. Campbell, I'm so sorry. Uh, Spencer, I'm so sorry. But yeah, well, this 10 Candles game,
Uh-huh.
we're all sitting there, and it's fantastic. Well, we were like a bunch of skater kids,
Oh, yeah.
and I forget how it worked. So I was sitting next to my friend Devin and my fiance. They were all part of like little same skater crew, and I worked my little goodbye. He's like, I always wanted I always wanted to impress you with my skating,
Oh.
da da, and we're all sitting there like, okay, talking to my partner, like in game, whatever. Well, and I'm like, but I'm sorry, but you were always a better skater than me. I love you. And the only other skater was Devin's character. And everybody else just goes into sweeping when they realize my character was saying their only goodbye to the person they love, which was
Oh,
like their coming out moment was when they die.
yeah. Oh.
And he is, I think, so sis. He was like, "Oh wow, like good buddies." And I was just like, "No, this this kid was confessing their love," and he's like, "Oh, oh." It's like,
Oh.
oh, sweetie.
Yeah.
Oh,
So with
but yeah,
Alice is Missing, you actually do voicemails.
yeah.
You leave a voicemail for Alice, and so you record it before you play the game. And so
Mm,
you're like, "Hey, Alice, just checking on you. Sorry, I haven't heard from you in a couple days, and I'm just a little worried. I know we like had the big fight, blah blah blah." And you have a prompt that you go off of.
right.
And so you leave the voicemail, and then you get to the end of the game, and you play the voicemails.
Mm.
It's just
Ugh.
like,
I just don't. That's the biggest problem. I don't have, like we were talking about, the LARP friend group is all dispersed, and after the birth of our daughter, we've just not been able to really connect with friends and like get a group to kind of continue. And we're all late 30s, early 40s in the group, so everybody's off doing things. And
yeah.
Alice is Missing is one of those games like I would love to. I just don't have enough people to make
I've
it
run it
happen.
online all the time. I don't think I've
Really?
ever. I've only played. Okay, so we kind of played it in person once, but not really because we had two more players that were on camera. Like we had like four people like in person, and then two more people on camera. So
Cameras.
we played it quasi in person, and then I also play tested it in person in 2019, like
Mm.
the original. So,
Oh,
and that was a post like Sunday night Big Bad Con. So like we were already exhausted and tired, like midnight game.
the
And it was
emotions are high.
yeah. Oh, yeah, and I think some like because it's playtesting and we're playing with this woman that I never met, and she kind of like broke down, and so like we didn't like get out of that table till like 3 in the morning, and I had a flight at 7, so I was like, guess he's not sleeping tonight.
Oh no.
That's how
I
I met Spencer. That's how I met Spencer, and that's how we became pretty cool friends for that.
man, that's Adam talks about that a lot. I can't. His last name always eludes. I know it, but it's very Polish. Um, uh, from TikTok.
Doesn't
Uh,
help me. I'm not there anymore.
oh, that's right. I know. I tried to tag you, and I was like, "Nah."
Oh.
uh, but that it's about um going to those cons and finding the games that are being played off books because that's where all the developers like
Yeah, they they'll have, like, something maybe, like, on the books, but, like, sometimes they just wanna, like, have, like, their chosen handful of people to, like,
Mhm.
play the game separately.
Yeah, and that's what I've been trying to do. I it's 7 a.m. Oh,
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 night flight and stuff, yeah.
yeah.
It was
Um,
really rewarding. It was very fun to play the game and, like, meet Spencer and, like, play this game that now people, like, really it's, like, really revered, so I'm like, "Ah, yes, I was on the ground floor.
I was
I did
there when
things. I
I was
I
in
was
the
there
room when it happened.
I was there when my cell phone wasn't working in the hotel office, so it was hard texting people because we didn't use Discord, we actually used our cell phone numbers.
We did it for real.
We did it for real.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I can set up a Discord and, like, I actually have, like, a Discord kinda set aside for it, so
I would
just
yeah, if we can get my partner, she works second shift at an ER, so she works
Oh,
3 and
yeah.
so it's like tonight she's at work. So she'll get
Mhm.
home at 1,
Yeah.
decompresses for 2 hours, goes
Goes to
to
sleep.
sleep, wakes up the next day, and so it's very hard to get a schedule where we're running we've finally been able to play together. I have a super secret thing I
Oh,
can't
you gotta
tell
tell
people
me.
about.
Okay.
Yeah, this is too public of a
Just message me in Discord later.
um but we're playing in the morning at
Yeah.
10 a.m.
Oh,
from 10 to
interesting.
12, and I
Okay.
got a group of people that were all able to play in the morning.
I love
Uh,
that for
yeah,
us. Actually, I play my D&D game at 10 AM on Saturdays, and I'm like, "This is actually kinda nice."
yeah.
I
You get
don't
breakfast, you chill out. Yeah,
Yeah, you go play a game, and then you have your still, like, a whole day in front of you, like
it's nice. How
Yeah.
we've been playing 2 hours, which has been nice as well. I will say I'm used to like 4 hour sessions, and so it's hard for me to excuse me to plan 2 hours. Does that make sense? Like to
No,
make
because
can
you gotta condense it and, like, make it, like, focused and,
yeah
like,
to make the
"Hey, we only have 2 hours, let's hit these beats."
yeah, but it's hard for me to hit the. I'm a person that, and I know because it's like I can hear Michael right. A lot of times back in my head, it's like get into the scene, get out, all that kind of stuff. But I'm like, to me, the joy of LARP, or not LARP, sorry, but maybe this is a LARP problem that I'm bringing into my tabletop. I like the ability that things can breathe, that
Mhm.
we can let players.
That's why I don't run one-shots.
Mm,
That's why if people ask me to do one-shots, I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I'll, like, find a game that's specified and, like, built for a one-shot. But, like, if I'm running, like, for example, I'm about to run Night Witches, for, in Jordan server for,
mm.
my white boys.
Yeah,
No, seriously, it's, like, 5 white masked folks that are like, "I wanna play as World War II Russian women flying outdated biplanes."
beautiful.
I was like, "Bet." But, yes, let me give you those feels. But, no, what was going with that? Uh,
One shots and don't like what
One
right.
shots, yeah. So, like, that can be ran as a one shot. I played it as a one shot at a con. Jason Morningstar, it's a game by Jason Morningstar.
Okay.
So, he actually what had happened is, like, he actually kinda, like, added LARP elements to it because, like, it was 4 tables, we're all different squadrons, and each table had a DM, and Jason would go through and, like, feed NPC plots and, like, be, like, higher level, like, NPCs, and would, like, those
Sure.
GMs actually run us through scenarios. So it's really cool. It was really fun. Um, but, like, actually, like, feeling the development and feeling the trauma of war, like, I want, like, them to actually, like, play a couple sessions so they can, like, do these runs and really see how the stress is of, like,
Yeah.
your roles matter in this game because, like, it's a PBTA game, so it's 2d6, but, like, whenever you go through, like, for a firing run against the Nazis, it's probably, like, 3 or 4 rolls between the 5 of y'all, and that's it.
Oh, that's not that much.
But the thing is, like, you can take on flight injuries, you can
Yeah.
your plane can go down behind enemy lines, you can lose NPCs or yourselves, like, it's doesn't
A
take
lot
much.
yeah. That's
It does
so
not take
good.
much.
I mean, to be honest, I've taken a lot of cues from PBTA and Blades in the Dark for my own game, and making the roles matter
It,
and really push things in certain ways. Like I've been it's about a year now. I've got Dragon Steven in one of our games.
mhm.
He pulled an entire roof down on himself because he messed up a roll, and he was like, yeah, he went under the whatever they were fighting is he went into the garage. The bedroom was above him, and he's like, well, I want to pull the bed down, like
Uh-huh.
through using my magic. I'm gonna pull the bed through the ceiling of this garage.
Yeah.
Boom. Well, he failed the roll, and it's like, well, and you I'm gonna give it to you.
You do it.
You do it. You did it too well. And
You
just
pulled everything else with it.
yeah, and just crushed himself under all this debris.
Oh, I love that.
And yeah, it's those games. And honestly, you talking about them and getting me to read them, and I was like, okay, I see like your enjoyment of them and how you talked about them and what was so important about them. I was like, okay, this means something.
Yeah, that's
And
why I
yeah.
say rules matter. Like they're designed with intent of a certain like feel or like implication or like how they want this. Like so, I ran Night Witches before for like Jordan and Nerdy and like a
Mhm.
bunch of other folks. And there's a photo somewhere of Jordan, GM Jordan, just like this the whole time while we're playing the game because he's so stressed out.
It's so beautiful. I,
Yeah, it's
it's
great.
and it's really interesting to talk about that because I've got two ways to do the resolution mechanics. One that makes it more heroic, and one that makes it much more horrific and horror filled.
I
One,
love that.
you are going to succeed more often than not. The other one, you're not going to succeed more often than not. And I've
Yeah.
realized I'm going to have to include both because it's going to be if you're a particular type of player that can't handle losing,
Mhm.
you need to play this type because I've got a player that just does not like they want to succeed or succeed
Yeah.
with consequences more often than a straight failure.
Yeah, because straight failures are boring. Like,
Well, not with the
but
but that's the point with my game design,
yeah,
the
I feel like with like
failure oh,
D&D, like
D&D, yes,
like
yeah, yeah.
oh yeah, you miss it. Okay, cool. I'll wait another 5 minutes for my next turn to
Yeah.
so you can get back to the table.
And this is
Um,
this is the oh, failure, but in a like I was saying, you pulled the building or you pulled this thing down on top of you.
yeah, 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 exactly.
Now we
Actually,
all have to
I
deal with
do.
it.
Have you played Apocalypse Keys or read through Apocalypse Keys
I've
at
read
all?
through it and
Okay, so have
yeah,
you seen that where it's like it's a PBTA game, so like you have your
overshoot.
yeah, you have your failure, and then like but like the bell's a little skewed, so it's like 0 to 7 is failure,
Mhm.
8 to 10 is success,
So 11
and then
plus is the bad
it's it's the bad success.
yeah.
And so you talking about that reminded me of that, where it's like, oh yeah, you do it, but become more of a monster than you already are. Like you're trying to get through the city and like your massive big speed. Yeah, you're a kaiju now, and you're just like destroying everything in the process, or like.
Oh, that's a game I push when people are at the shop and I
Mhm.
sense that like, oh, you're looking for something that's a bit more emotionally complex and there's a lot more push and pull with the players at the table. I'm like, you should play this game. This is going to be much more, this is the because you were talking about D&D though, it's like people are playing it these days in such a different way than it was originally intended. I feel they are
Yeah.
playing these very emotionally highly charged characters, but there's no rules to support that
That
gameplay.
yeah. You can roll a charisma check that's like that only gets you so far. Like it's so cold
Yeah,
blanket.
and and a lot of times, what do the people use charisma checks for? To make your character do something I want them to do.
Yeah.
Rarely is it to do anything more interesting than that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's Apocalypse Keys was a lot of fun to read through. Um, for work, I made an RPG spotlight for it.
Oh
So I did a
yeah.
quick like, hey, that was our December, November. I did a spotlight for it,
Mhm.
I'm trying to do that for work, to do these like once a month, being like, "Hey, here's the game I want to talk about that you should play."
Have you picked the February one yet, or
Uh, yes, February is games we love is the theme for this month at work. So I chose
Oh,
Cypher
okay.
System because it's personal. So it's like this is the game I
Yeah.
love, so I want to talk about
Yeah.
my
I
thing.
love that. Mm.
January I did Traveler because it was Journeys was the name of
Oh, wow.
was
That's an old school game.
yeah. Well, it's has a modern update for it.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah. And they updated it in such a way that it can use all of the old material because
Okay.
it's a 2D6 system, so it can use all
Mhm.
the GURPS stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
I just wanna play Traveler just to make a character, like, I just
To see if they die.
I just yeah, I just wanna see what gets rolled up and like, "Okay, cool. Nice."
Yay!
That's it. That's the game, that's all I
I
wanna
did it.
play.
So Burning Wheel also sounds like that's a game you wanna
Also, 13 no, not 13 Age, oh, what is there's another game, not Burning Wheel. It's like Authorian, like, where you're like
Uh,
I'm gonna look through my shit, hold on.
that's the fun part of Traveler. Original Cyberpunk was also the same way.
Oh, neat, okay.
You would roll up I don't know if they kept that in this most current edition, but yeah,
Mhm.
you can roll up your character.
Pendragon, yes, thank you. Games on a
Okay.
Bunker. Pendragon,
Okay.
because you actually are able to, like, build up, like, your family's, like, prestige, so you roll on a bunch of tables just, like,
Oh,
see
cool,
where it
cool, cool.
goes. But, no one dies because, like, your family your dad can't die past a certain point.
Okay.
But once they get past that point, their dad can die, and then that's when the prestige stops, but your character's already in development in womb. So,
This sounds like a Dune kind of
it's like
like
it's
idea.
it's medieval, so it's like,
Oh, medieval. Okay.
yeah. So you got your houses and, like,
Okay.
your knights and, like, all the other stuff. So the
That's really
sexism
cool.
aside, I really wanted to play it, like
Ah, there's a game. So, um, here's what I want to play with you and Penny and my partner.
okay. Yes.
It's called Flabbergasted.
I think I've heard of this. Let me look it up real quick.
Uh, Flabbergasted was RPG. I should type this in. Uh, it the company I work for is very interesting. David, the owner,
Mhm.
Irish immigrant who started a cyber cafe called Gigabytes that has now turned into a gaming store with Gears, not Gears of War, Games Workshop games, whatever
Mhm.
RPGs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Then he opened a distribution center to handle all that stuff, and they also opened a publishing company called Gigamech.
Interesting.
Gigamech published Flabbergasted, and it is
Okay.
a Roaring Twenties uh high society game where you are trying to get the third cousin of some highfalutin person married off.
I
It is,
love that.
yeah, and like it's all, yeah, join an up and coming social club and get you up to mischief, mayhem, and many marvelous misadventures, all before your afternoon tea.
Cute.
And the pitch my friend was telling me about, he absolutely loves it. It's like, okay, we need to get you to rob the bank, but we're going to be the robbers. And you're going to, or no, sorry, you're going to stop the robbery. We're going to be the robbers, and you're going to look really awesome. But through roles, whatever, he's like, but unfortunately, he went to the wrong bank
Oh.
that was actually being robbed by real robbers. And
Ah.
it was like, come at me, you ruffians. And it's that kind of like whatever.
That's so fun.
And I was like, this looks like the best type of just, I don't know.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds like a romp.
Oh, yeah.
And I enjoy a good, like, fun, just goofy game.
Oh, they're on Foundry too.
Oh, neat.
Cool.
But Bob Apocalypse Keys, if you didn't know, I was a Kickstart stretch goal
Yes,
writer
I
before
know.
that. Oh,
Absolutely.
so if you've gotten that stretch goal,
Oh.
I've written Xochitl the Dream Eater, so who is one of the harbingers.
Lucky.
Basically, she basically, like, goes through and, like, eats dreams and eventually, like, tears into the fabrics of reality and starts, like, can't eventually start destroying the world around her.
Yeah. That's
It's I
so
got, like, a
good.
lot like from I don't know if you've seen the anime Paprika?
No.
It's very, like, esoteric and just weird. So I was like, "This is perfect for a Apocalypse Keys game." So,
The biggest anime that are, like, the weirdest ones I've seen, of course, are Blue. That is probably one of the weirdest ones I've
I think I've
seen.
heard of that one. I think I've seen
It's
it.
an
It's
older
like
one. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, oh, and now I can't remember the name of it. It's like a girl commits suicide. Sorry, trigger warning. I apologize. I'll put a thing before it here. Um, but she keeps continuing to like instant message people and text people,
Mhm.
and she starts off with just like having her little like MacBook computer. By the end of the show, she has like 20 monitors
Wow.
and is like in this dark. Her room's now really dark and glowing of screens, and is just kind of like really losing it because these people are messaging her that should be passed away. It gets really wild, but it's a good one. Of course, I can't remember
I
the name of it, so what does it matter?
yeah. But yeah, Paprika is is esoteric and really awesome. So, like, it's if you wanna watch a
Okay,
good like, a fun anime movie that's just, like, weird and deals,
yeah.
like, with, like, reality bending, you're not sure exactly what happens, that's
I I think I I think I end up preferring the movies oftentimes more than a show because it's like this is a commitment.
I can 2 hours here.
Yeah,
1,000 episode One Piece, no thank you.
y'all have fun with that. Like I've even dropped off of My Hero Academia, which I love, and it's like
Yeah,
it's already too much.
I never started. I was like, "I'm not
Ah,
gonna do that."
it's I will say it's one of the few animes where I was crying, like legitimately has was
Oh,
super emotional
I love that.
between the two main characters.
Yeah.
Where yeah. Oh, it's just like when because it was hopeful. That's what I really liked about it. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
it's just a bunch of kids wanting to save the world. I love that.
Yeah. Aw.
Well, it is 2 hours and 12 minutes.
Oh,
I
yeah, we should
think
probably call it here.
uh
I should probably eat dinner, I don't know, like, maybe.
eh, I
Yeah.
have to go. I have to get up and well, I have to get up at 6:40 to take my daughter to school. So,
Oh, jeez. Yeah, we should probably get going.
um,
Yeah, this is so good just to sit down and chat with you, it's been so
yes,
fun.
thank you very much. This turned out exactly as I had hoped, where we just talked for just bullshit for 2 hours.
I love it. No
Um,
script, no thing. Just a drink and a blanket and,
there you
like, a good
go.
smile. That's all you
Good
gotta do.
vibes, good vibes.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody that popped up. Again, I want to say this month at the Titter Pig Academy, we are promoting Black Girls Code. So
Mhm.
you actually go to www.titterpigacademy.com/donate. Oh,
There's a link
words will
there.
pop up around here
Ooh.
when I edit this. You can go there and donate to Black Girls Code. They are an organization that are trying to teach, well, as the name implies, girls how to get into Black girls how to get into coding and programming and all that kind of fun stuff. So,
I love that. And if you like reading about games, the one game that we're talking about this month is the Plant Girl game by Dominic Dickey. It's basically just about a magical plant, I think, person talking to her siblings or trying to save them. I caught like the various like bits of it. I'm not gotten into it yet, but like yeah. And also if you want to join the Tutor Pick Academy Discord, please join us. We run games sporadically. I try to run more than I should be running more, but it doesn't happen. But like it's fun to just hop in.
yeah,
Spaces for people to run games, talk about games, play games, and that's mainly the space for that. It's just come in, good vibes, running various games about designers, talking about fun, quirky little games. And yeah.
the only the only caveat is there is no Dungeons and Dragons there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, do not if that's what you're expecting, that is not going to be the place.
But if you do like Dragonbane or like Perils and Princesses or like anything like that, yeah, you
Absolutely.
can do that.
Come on in.
Yeah,
Or if you want to
come
learn
in.
something new, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm a tenured professor, so that means I don't do anything.
Um, I'm on faculty, so like I am coach.
Come on, you gotta step up.
But I'm one of the coaches who like
We can do Shadow
does
Dark, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what Shadow Dark is, but probably.
So Shadow Dark, at the expense of a threat of keeping this going, Shadow Dark was what if we made 5th edition more like OSR?
Oh,
So it
I
has
don't know. It's an OSR.
uh it does something. I think one of the most interesting things it does is when you go into the dungeons and go into the darkness, you
Mhm.
start a literal 1 hour timer for your torch, and it is a real world hour clock that counts down until your torch goes dark.
Kinda like
And
Alice Missing, where they use 90-minute timer to, like,
yeah,
do the game, yeah.
and so you have to. It helps those one of the moments of analysis paralysis in a dungeon. We're like, oh, should we open this door? Should we do this? Or
I
like, we got to make a choice. We got to
I
go.
actually want that. I wanna give that to my DM and be like, "Here, put this in our D&D game."
Yeah, no characters have dark vision. So it's really heard a lot of people say really great things about it that are 5e players that I
Mhm.
think come to OSR, and then OSR players kind of coming. It's a good bridge between
I
those
like that.
two.
Yeah.
And I think it backed at like a million two, something like that.
Oh,
It
neat,
did
okay. But again,
gangbusters.
OSRs are something I do not keep. Like, I just played Liminal Horror for the first time because of Jack. I wouldn't say Vaughn told me, but, like, I was like, "Okay, cool, I'll play it." Like, it was for charity, so I was like, "Okay, I'll play OSR game for once."
And Jack's
And then
really
started
good
working
at
with stuff.
Jack Panic is probably one of my favorite GMs at
Oh, he was
descripting
great.
and
Oh, he was so good.
yeah, using that kind of movie language to move a scene along and
Mhm.
I with I played Liminal Horror, but I also played Eat the Reich.
So I met Jack, where did we no, I was with
No,
Sean, and who else was I playing with? I don't remember who else I was playing
I
with.
don't know.
But Sean dragged me into the game with Jack, and that's how I met Jack was through Eat the
Okay.
Reich.
And he ran
Yeah,
it
Sean yeah.
yeah, he ran it for me. Oh, now I can't remember. Panic at the
Oh,
Table was who's Panic at the Table? Uh
everybody. We're all panicking at the table.
the main person the the table, the guy who runs that. The Panic Table. Sorry, the Panic Table.
And I'm also a panic table.
At any rate, the guy who runs that, it's an actual play.
Oh, okay.
It's really well produced,
Well, that's
amazingly
good.
produced. At any rate, played it all for this, and man, that was so much fun because it was just kill Nazis. That's another game I try to push at the store.
Mhm.
I push that game so much. I'd be like, you need to play, you need to play vampires killing Nazis. Take this game. All right. Any rate, I'm.
Anyway.
We'll keep talking forever.
Oh my god, we will, for real.
Thank you all again for everybody that showed up to listen in and contributed. I tried to look at the chat every now and again because I do. I hope everybody feels like they got to be at the campfire a little bit.
Yeah.
This was a cozy chat with
So
Mo.
cozy.
Yeah, a very warm,
A
very
very
warm
warm,
cozy
cozy
chat.
event. Like, I have this blanket, but it's just, like, it's, like, pulled up, so it's just, like
Yeah, mine's just
it's
around my
kinda
legs, and I'm wearing my hoodie, and this is my
very
officially
thin.
branded hoodie, and it is way too warm.
That sounds like tank top. I was like, "Oh, man, if I'm gonna have a blanket, at least I'm gonna wear a tank top so
See,
my
you
I
were
can breathe
smart.
a little bit."
You were smart. All right. Have a good night, Mo. Have a good
Good
night,
night.
everybody, and
Bye, everybody.
we will hopefully see you by the campfire.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Bye.